Yo, what is up? This is DPS Podcast. That is Damage Per Second Podcast. Back again on a fine Thursday night. Feeling all right. Here with my co-host Gaming Forte. About episode 206 for the count. You know, I gotta make sure that's in there. Forte, how's it going, bro?
Good. Just happy that halfway through the holiday and good to be here to talk some gaming. But other than that, everything's been good.
Good. Very, very good. We may have a couple of guests popping through. Not quite certain if they will be able to make it or not. But regardless, me and the homie going to get into it as usual. We did miss last week. We missed Thanksgiving week. Podcast falls on Thanksgiving. So clearly we weren't going to go live on that day. But we kind of looked at it with family in town and so forth. We just kind of figured, let's just skip the week. You know, wasn't much going on that much anyway, which has allowed us to have a lot to discuss tonight anyway. So we're going to get into it. Forte, what you been playing, man?
NCAA, Stalker 2, and Final Fantasy Rebirth on, not Rebirth, I restarted on Final Fantasy 7 remake on PC.
Oh, okay. Are you using any mods?
Yeah.
Okay. Should I ask, or should something we discuss off stream?
It's kind of some of the ones that you showed me that you were using. I got Tifa out there looking like she got her stripper boots and stuff on, and I made
stripper boots.
Yeah, she got her stripper boots on. And Arif, she's just
and that's it. She ain't got nothing else. She
got other things on too. But the boots really stand out. The boots really stand out. And Arif, I just made
it's
her.
All about the boots, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And Arif, I just made sure she was like the hometown girl. Very respectful. Made sure she dressed appropriately. Made sure she the one that you want to bring home to your mama. Now Tifa, okay. I don't know. It's a little rough over there, but she looked good. She looked good. That's all that matters.
When I played it,
Barrett is running around as Master Chief. I will say that.
Nice. I do like how easy the mods are to apply for remake.
Yeah, they're super. It's
super. You're just putting a INI file in a particular folder. I think, if I recall correctly. So it was fairly easy. I really enjoyed replaying through the game with that. Like I had Barry as Master Chief as well for the majority of the game, and I had I had both Locke and Tifa with their Advent Children movie outfits, and then I had I kept changing Arif up, but I think I really settled on the Sailor Moon outfit because I thought that was just looked kind of perfect.
It is perfect. Yeah. You know what? The only thing that I think they could have did better with Barrett is make him Samus. And it would have been perfect, but I haven't. There's no. Samus is.
But Samus is.
Well, I don't care. I don't care about Samus being. Listen, when the suit is on, who cares?
Yeah, but then it's like the voice
but it fits the character because of his.
Well, just because they both have a gun arm.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it fits the character. It fits the character.
I don't know.
And I'm just saying, I don't care about
you know what? You know what?
Go ahead.
You make that mod.
I could make that mod and it'll probably be really, really
put it on Nexus mods and see what happens.
Man,
probably on and popping.
People are gonna be like, I shouldn't like this as much as I do because this is a guy and this is a girl, but I love it.
It's gonna be really interesting when Rebirth comes out. And on PC that is, and that's likely going to be next year. And when that comes out, the mods, especially considering how Chapter 5 is in that game, the mods are going to be ridiculous. So yeah, but that's cool, man. I see you enjoying yourself.
I like your Go XM4.
Yeah, I got the gold on there. I'm trying to. I need to get some more gold weapons, but I keep. I'm not as focused on getting the weapon skins as I should be. I've been doing a lot. Actually, might as well go ahead and talk about that. What's up, Soldier for Life 504? Good to see you in the chat.
What's up, guy?
So what I've been playing is I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, and I prestige twice so far in Call of Duty, and I've been mostly just doing that. Like, and the thing is that when you prestige, though, there's some weapons that will get relocked because they're tied to having a specific level. And so when you prestige and you go back to level 1, I lose access to a lot of those weapons. And so it just ends up in a situation where I gotta wait for the weapon to get unlocked again. And then and also all of your loadouts get reset as well. So you gotta redo your loadouts. Now the attachments and everything that you already unlocked stay permanently unlocked. And each time you prestige, you can take a perk and have that perk permanently unlocked for you. But the process is just it's not allowing me to work on that. Maybe I'll focus in on getting the appropriate gold skins for everybody, and then leveling, because once you get like 7 gold skins for like assault rifles, then you can get like, I think platinum next or some, I don't know what it is, but it's just it hasn't been a focus, but I'm working on it. I've been having a good time playing Call of Duty, getting I would say getting better. You know, like I felt like I was good, and then I got better, and I can kind of like feel, okay, Logic is in the waiting room. Let me go pull him in. I can kind of like feel myself like dominating a little bit more than I was, more consistently. So that's been fun. And even though I haven't played COD today, I have been playing COD like every single day. What's up, Logic?
Not much, man. How are y'all?
No, pretty good, man. I've also been playing, making progress on Metaphor Refantasio Forte, so that I make sure that I have it beat before the Game Awards next week. Been grinding. I'm now like my characters are like maybe around like level like 57. So my goal is to get to like maybe like 65 before I go back to the final area, do a little bit more grinding there, and then take on the final boss. So I anticipate maybe beating it by this weekend. So there's that. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I beat Dragon Age the Veilguard again for the second time with my rogue. And my rogue is like, I think the rogue class in that game does the most damage. Like, I was just straight one-shotting enemies with the kind of build that I have set up with the rogue, but I feel like the mage is the most fun. And so far, maybe I should have started with the warrior first. Oh, maybe not. Maybe because I'm not enjoying the warrior combat as much as I was enjoying the combat for the mage and rogue. And I'm kind of struggling to find not necessarily a build that works, because the build I have kind of works right now. It's just not as fun for me. So I'm kind of struggling to find a build that is as enjoyable as the other two are. And maybe I won't achieve that, but at least find something that's cool and okay. Shout out to Man Overboard in the chat. What's up, man? Shadow Reaver in the house as well. And Blade X. Hey, everybody coming through. I see. What else? I feel like there's something else that I've been playing. I haven't, apparently, Marvel Rivals went live tonight. I might play that after the show, or maybe I'll just wait till tomorrow. It depends on how I feel, because today's been a bit of a rough day with work and with computer stuff not working as intended. I got a new work laptop, and that's been some changes, you know, so getting some stuff set up the way I had it before. That's a little frustrating, but last thing I wanted to talk about, and it's going to be a bit of a complaint. So Fortnite Chapter 6 launched, and, you know, shout out to everyone who came through on the stream. Was that Sunday, Forte?
Yeah, it was Sunday night.
Yeah, so yeah, Sunday night we streamed it. You know, had some issues. Game crashed one time. Second time, which has never happened to me really. Like I got kicked out of a match, like the network error, dropped me all the way back to the main menu. Like I've never seen that before in Fortnite. So, you know, I figured, you know, first day, there's issues. We've been here before. We play live service games. We know what's up. It's not that big a deal. So I looked at it and figured, all right, well, you know, I will give it a few days. I'm definitely playing, you know, other games, other single player games. I'm playing through Meta 4. I'm trying to beat Meta 4. I'm playing a lot of Call of Duty. I really don't need Fortnite to be great right now. I did play the battle pass, get the battle pass. I'll get back to it. And so I'm playing it a little bit earlier today, and they had an update. And so I was like, all right, bet maybe they fixed some of these problems that was going on Sunday night. Man, I played this game after that update. It's worse. And I'm just like, how are you worse? I don't how are you worse than it was before? What the hell is going on? Like, I did one match and I was like, I'm not doing another match. The match was so Forte. I have a 4080 Super with a i7 13700K CPU. I got 64 gigs of RAM. I got a lightning fast Western Digital Black SN 850X. If it sounds like I'm bragging, I am, because I got a high-end PC. This damn game, Forte, was going from max settings at 4K with DLSS quality. It was going from 90 frames per second to 5.
Oh, man.
One digit. Single digit frames, then back up to 80, then back down to 6. Then I'm like, what the heck is going? It was so bad. Like I just stopped moving, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything because the game is like when you have that drastic up and down drops of frame rate, like it's not a stutter or a juddery mess. The game literally freezes on you. And so I'm just like, what is happening? Somehow I won the match. I was lucky. There was a bunch of bots in there, but like I would get into a fight with people and like, I'm like barely making it through. Anytime I would do the slide cancel run, it was animations, traversal stutter, animation stutter. I'm like, bro, what the how is it worse than it was on Sunday? Who puts out a patch and says, yeah, if y'all thought the first one was bad, wait till you see what we got in store. It was just, Epic has never been this terrible with Fortnite. And I mean, I'm not going to be like, give me my money back, but like, I'm just not really too enthused to keep playing when it's in the state that it's in right now, because it's not fun when I'm fighting your engine issues, because clearly, like all that talk they said about Unreal Engine 5.4 doesn't have the traversal stutter, the shader cache issues that it had before.
They lied to you.
Garbage. They lied. You have all those issues and then some. Fix your freaking engine. And then this is your engine. This is the brand Pumbaa here. The Grand Pumbaa. This is the purpose of Fortnite. Half the time is to showcase what you can do in Unreal Engine. And all I can see you could do in Unreal Engine is have a 85% difference in frame rate every other second. So fix your game, man. Fix your game. Logic, what you been playing, bro?
I've had a pretty good week, actually.
Okay.
And
you're sounding a little low. I don't know if it's just me. Forte, does he sound low to you?
Yeah, he sounds like he in the backyard.
Yeah, I tried to crank it up a little. Let me know.
Maybe.
Oh, no, that's the reverb. Let me know if it's coming out louder now.
It is not, but I might need to. I had you at normal. I'm gonna boost you up to like 150 in Discord, so hopefully that helped.
Okay.
Okay.
Go
ahead. Okay, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better, sir. We can hear you now.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
You know.
So
we got to do it like that, but that's okay. I can roll with that too. It's not a big deal. Anything you could do for
Oh
me, I
my!
can do better.
Everyone's doing the voice
Let's
now.
go.
Oh.
Let's go.
Oh.
I got a
a few different voices on the board too, so it's not like I have just that one that I can go to. I can go to a second voice.
I mean, I got
to a
a
third voice.
Listen, my voice is a little bit different than your voice. I was made in a factory by Elon Musk, and I just wanted you to know that, I'm going to take over the world and let everybody know that I'm coming for it. And Will Smith ain't going to stop me. Will Smith going to stop me.
See, Slow-Mo? See?
That's what happens when
This is Logic's fault. I blame this on Logic because you encouraged
I
them.
didn't do the voice.
You encouraged them.
I didn't do
You
the
encouraged
voice.
them.
He did it.
No, he started it, and if we just see, as like a little kid, when they want attention, you just ignore them, they stop. But you encouraged it. You kept go. You went there with him, and then it just went to a whole different. See. Now he can't stop. He can't stop.
You make it sound, Slow-Mo, as if he needs my encouragement. You know that this would be the behavior, even if I hadn't encouraged him.
It wouldn't be. We wouldn't still be dealing with this if it wasn't.
Okay.
Forte, come on, man.
We're going to go ahead and talk about what I've been playing. So,
Okay, I'm turning it off. That was funny.
so it's been a good week. I've actually been playing my Steam Deck every day this week. Been playing a little American Truck Simulator. We won't talk about that a lot tonight because last time when I was on, not last time, but the time before last, when I started talking about European Truck Simulator 2, then my internet got all bad. So maybe people didn't like me talking about that game, but I've been playing American Truck Simulator 2. Tonight I played a game, it's in my backlog as part of my Steam library, called Distance, which is an indie game, obviously. But it's like a weird like car game that combines like parkour with the car. So it's like this dystopian futuristic kind of Tron-like setting where you're trying to escape from, I think, the space station and get to a teleporter that teleports you back to Earth. And you're on a timer. You have multiple levels to get through, and you have to do it in, I think the timer is like 3 hours and 42 minutes. So you're supposed to complete the game, this particular campaign, in 3 hours and 42 minutes. So as you go through each level, like the time ticks down, and actually you don't know. I mean, I guess I could Google it and look it up, but like I don't know how much time you should take per level, or like how you're supposed to know that you're behind or ahead of the curve, because you just have the entire time bucket, right, to complete all the levels. But in the game, you can boost, you can jump. At a certain point, you can start flying, and it's all really about like managing speed and momentum. When if you get too slow, then you will not be able to cross a chasm. When you get to it, there are regeneration rings that you hit, and so when you're boosting and you're flying, that it's kind of like you have like a big heat sink, so like it increases your total heat until a point where it will overload if you go too far. But when you hit these rings, it's like a cooldown ring, so it allows you to like keep boosting or keep flying. You have to use booster flight to cross chasms that just show up like out of nowhere, and then you also have points where you need to wall ride with the car. As a means of like avoiding obstacles. You get like a little kind of jump that is not like a Dukes of Hazzard jump or a Speed Racer jump. It's just like a hop, and that you have to use to surmount like vertical obstacles that just pop up out of nowhere. So it's pretty cool. I'm having a good time with it. So I've been playing that on Steam Deck too. On Big Boy PC, I've been spending a little time playing Forza Horizon 5, and I meant to tell you, Slow-Mo, I see you out there. I appreciate what you're doing. You got 52 hours into Forza Horizon 5, so much respect.
Hey, yeah, I put some time in from time to time. Like I put probably the bulk of that in when it first launched, but every now and then I just get the urge to just drive around and then do some really terrible races where I'm just bumper cars running into the drivatars. And so I reinstall it from time to time and spend like a good 2 or 3 days in there and then uninstall it again, But I put a little bit of time in the Forza. There's actually going to be a topic for later on, so we can definitely get into that when it pops up. But
so I like seeing. I see you out there at your level 82. So it's good. It's respectable. I've got 67 hours in at level 109. But I know racing's not your main thing, so I appreciate that. But but I've been having fun with that. That game crashed on me too. As you're talking about Fortnite the other night. That's the other thing I should mention that I've been doing is I've also been transitioning all my PCs over to Windows 11. This Steam survey number hit, and Microsoft.
We talked about that last time. Yeah,
right.
That's interesting. So I'm still not going. I'm still not going to 11 until they give me no choice. And it's mostly because, and I'm like actively doing research on it. There's like a certain number of games, like the vast majority of games don't have any differences or any performance increases or decreases with Windows 11. Although the operating system in itself is more resource hungry than Windows 10, but when it comes to like there's like particular games that I still play from time to time where performance is significantly worse on Windows 11 for whatever reason. And it's clearly something going on with Windows 11 itself, especially when they come out with I think the latest update, the big update had performance issues as well. So for just like, I think Intel CPUs in general, which is what I have. So for me, that's just like, y'all gotta fix y'all stuff before I make that transition. I'm as a content creator with the tools I use to make content, it's fine. All that stuff has been worked out. All that stuff's fine. It's just the performance of the games themselves that have me kind of waiting on that. And by the way, since I'm talking about performance, that gameplay that match in Fortnite I was talking about, I've remembered that I recorded how bad it was, and that's what you're looking at right now in the Jumbotron, which is it actually was worse before I turned on MSI Afterburner, but turning on MSI Afterburner somehow like reset NVIDIA recording, so it didn't keep the record because I just like went back once I won and recorded the past 15 minutes, or at least attempted to, but it really only got like 6 or 7. But yeah, it's pretty freaking bad. My bad. You were saying what you were playing, Logic. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I bit the bullet because I was like, I'm the type of person who, like you, I'll say, nope, not going to do it, until I have a reason to or until I'm forced to, but then I will ignore it and it'll sneak up on me and it'll be October 2025 and then I'll be doing stuff in a rush. So I was like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and do it. Pretty decent time for me to do an operating system refresh anyway on a lot of these boxes. And in some cases, there were a couple that I was looking at doing upgrades on next year, but now I'm like, I'm not gonna do a rebuild when I just reinstalled the operating system. So now I've pushed that out like a year. So it's fine. I'm rolling with it. But yeah. So Forza Horizon 5, been playing, and then been playing another indie game called Ultros, which came out earlier this year. I had it on the PlayStation 5, and then when I got rid of my consoles, of course, there are games that were orphaned. That I needed to, reacquire in some cases on PC. Ultros was one of them. So this is a 2D Metroidvania type of game. Really kind of like very much looks like it was coded by somebody on shrooms or acid. It's just really kind of psychedelic and esoteric. It has a lot of like yogi, like spirit of life kind of stuff, dialogue and whatnot in it. So it's a little different than like The Cub, which is, like a dystopian future where like the human race has abandoned Earth, but now they're coming back and all these like feral children are running around who have learned to survive without them. So slightly different. You're trapped in this like spiritual being of some type trying to find your way out. But like standard Metroidvania fare, you gain weapons and powers and you level up through progression and gain additional attacks. And sometimes additional ways of traversal that allow you to like, get to points on a level that you couldn't get to before and things like that. So been having a good time with that.
Cool. Well,
I have a question. Why is Windows asking me for a 312 gig update to Call of Duty?
What?
Right now,
312 gig. That's gotta be a mistake.
It says right here. I'm looking at the update. It says 315 gigs.
That's weird.
I'm just because it was giving me an error, and I'm like, why are you giving me an error? Then I was like, do I not have enough space on my drive? And I'm like, I got like 130 gigs, and I go look at the install, and it's like 315.2. I'm like, huh? What are you gonna do? Install the whole game again and take away stuff?
Is this okay? It's definitely an update and not like a fresh install, right?
Yeah, it's an update. Remember, I played Call of Duty with you the other day.
True. I don't know. Look, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's crazy.
I need to get this. I need Game Pass to move to Steam or BattleNet.
BattleNet. Like, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. How come, Avowed is on BattleNet?
Right.
And it's not out yet, but it's going to be available on BattleNet, and you'll be able to play it through Game Pass on BattleNet. But Call of Duty, which has already been on BattleNet, Call of Duty, which yes, they're all under the same umbrella, but Obsidian is an Xbox game, is under the specifically Xbox Game Studios umbrella, whereas BattleNet was created by Activision, Blizzard, all ABK. You can put that game over there, but you can't put Call of Duty over there. I know the reasoning. I just wish they would be honest about it. The reason is you want to increase your numbers for the Xbox app. And you don't care about BattleNet like that. So you are willing to make the experience for the gamers trying to play the game worse by forcing us to use the worser app in order to have your numbers look better. It's kind of trash, man. Oh, and we also have another guest coming through. Enrique. What's up, Enrique?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, you are very clear, sir. How's it going, man?
It's going. What's going on?
Pretty good. A quick question for you.
Yes,
what
sir.
you been playing?
Oh, I just wrapped up the Black Ops 6 campaign.
Oh, okay. How'd you enjoy it?
I liked it. I said, I said this to Game Logic. I said, it's a great popcorn flick. It's a nice, game to, digest. It's got a lot of action sequence. A decent story, not a bad story.
Okay. I gotta get to it. I haven't done it yet. I've been just doing nothing but the multiplayer.
Yeah, no, I actually did like it. But I'm going to go back and get back to Metaphor ReFantazio, and then obviously Indiana Jones. Reading some of the reviews on that. That'll be the next game I play as well. But yeah, Black Ops 6. That's what I've been playing.
Nice.
Cool. We gotta get some multiplayer in, man.
We
ain't played multiplayer since I think I haven't played multiplayer in Call of Duty with you since maybe Modern Warfare 2.
Play with your skill-based matchmaking.
Hey, you know what? That's the only way you get better. That's the only way you get better.
Thank you.
Not with him. No,
thank
listen.
you.
That's why.
No. You get better. You get better by playing. No, listen. You talking to the person that is a connoisseur of skill-based matchmaking.
Oh. You're
Conducer.
Now
You
you're a
are-
connoisseur.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, listen, you get better. You do get better by playing better people, but you get better by playing better people that are like slightly better than you, and then you just move up the ladder. Slow-mo, you jump in the game with him, you playing with people that are like going to plaid. That's how those people play. They play like they have no lives, and Slow-mo is and he even had to go and figure out some control settings so he feel like he could compete, because it's bad out here, bro. It's bad out there with him. I go play by myself and I'll have like a 2.5 KD and I feel like I'm doing good. I go play with Slow-mo, I'm like, man, I'm happy I got a 1.0.
Yeah, look,
But-
I
make it seem
before.
like I'm
Yeah,
like this
Come on.
like FPS god, and
What
I
is your
am
KD?
not.
What is your KD? Let me look it up right now. I'm gonna look it
But guy, we ain't gotta do that. Okay,
but
look,
Slow-mo,
it's,
when I
I'll tell
play with
you.
you,
I'll
Slow-mo-
tell you. It's like a 1.4 or something.
Mhm.
Is my
Slow-mo,
KD right now?
When I played COD with you in the past, like Modern Warfare 3, I think it was. Like, I mean, I yeah, there were some games I got work, but I wasn't like, oh, this is terrible, you know?
Oh, it's not terrible. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying know what you're getting yourself into.
I mean, I know. I mean, but that's how you get better, though. You know.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I just
You
want you
know?
to know what you're getting yourself into. You know what? It's like when we played Halo. I always told people,
Oh, like you're concerned
listen.
trolling there, Forte.
No, I'm just saying when we played Halo.
He is a little.
when we played Halo, I would tell people, it's like, listen, this ain't for the faint of heart playing in this group.
Why are you see? Look, try to scare people off, man.
I love it.
Just get some people to play with, man. And
Hey,
I invite somebody to play with us, and then they like, man, I heard from Forte. I heard from Forte. Y'all be playing in like cheating lobbies and stuff, and this dudes with super aimbot, and they see through walls. I ain't trying to do none of that. I'm like, all right, god damn.
Sometimes it's gonna feel that way though.
Why you talking to Forte?
Let's be for real.
But you know what though? But when I play with Slow-mo, and then I go back and play on my own, like I'm destroying people. So it's like okay, like
it's a benefit.
There's a benefit.
Makes you
Like,
better.
hey, Kobe Bryant didn't get good by only playing against Steve Smith, right? He wanted Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Steve Smith's a pop.
He
Who's to play against Steve Smith your whole career?
You do realize that you do realize Kobe Bryant, rest his soul, only played Michael Jordan 4 times a year. Plus, he played against him in the All-Star game, right?
But the point is, he wanted to play against him. He wanted to D up against
but
him.
he didn't play.
But why?
Him he got better.
He wanted to play.
He got better. He got better by going into the lab every day
and mimicking Jordan
and not going to sleep and telling people why they were going out to parties. Like, I'm going back to the gym. I got to be there at 4 a.m.
And Call of Duty, the lab is Slow-mo, playing with Slow-mo. That's the lab.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're right.
Not.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's the lab. The lab is playing with Slow-mo. Like, when you want to go play with, like, play Tekken 8 and you want to play, or Street Fighter 6, and you said, man, I'm about to take Zangief in the lag because I need to figure out this combo. I need to figure out how to do King's 10, do his string of moves and stuff, and just suplex you across the room. That's what it is. That's what it's like when you play with Slow-mo, man. Like,
this
listen,
is
I want
really
y'all to
I feel like
play-
you're disparaging
Beyond
Slow-mo.
the
Listen, I
pale.
want y'all listen.
Yeah.
Look at his gameplay. Matter of fact,
Oh,
does he still have this
Yeah,
gameplay?
look
at this gameplay. This dude slides more than he shoots the gun, it seems. He be sliding everywhere.
You're supposed to slide.
No, it's no, he
but
slides.
I want to make sure I don't get headshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Why
randomly
would you
by
slide?
somebody.
Like that, look, people that he used to complain about, like when he used to play Call of Duty beforehand, he used to complain about. It's like, man, stop sliding around a corner. Now he's like, that's the only way you can win. I gotta slide around these corners.
It is, man. Shoot, man, you gotta join. You can't beat them, join them.
Nah, man. But no, don't get me wrong. It's fun. It's fun playing with Slow-mo because Slow-mo doesn't judge the people he's playing with, but he will surely judge the team that we're on.
Yeah,
I miss playing Halo with you guys.
That was
But
fun.
we gotta do that too, man. I gotta reinstall Halo.
Yeah.
I
I haven't played Halo in a while. It's been a long time.
Hey, speaking of shooters, real quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hijack the conversation, but my
no,
son,
you're
my
fine.
10-year-old,
You're good.
my 10-year-old loves Fortnite. Like him and his buddies were like watching Juice World and Ice Spice in some event this past weekend.
Ice Spice.
And I'm like, what is happening? So anyhow, like he's playing. That laugh. He's playing Fortnite, and I hear this double kill, and I'm like, what? What was that? And I hear triple kill, and I'm like, do they just take? Are they using the Halo thing now?
Kill-tacular.
They are?
Yeah, yeah. And he was playing. I don't know if it was like a.
It must have been a specific mode where, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in Fortnite that's not just
Okay.
Battle Royale and Zero Build Battle Royale.
Okay,
There's
okay.
like Rumble stuff. They even
he does,
had
like-
at some point, I don't know if they still have, they had a Destiny map in there and it played like Destiny. They've had a lot of
Like
stuff
Roblox
in there.
now?
Yeah, they actually have been trying to compete with Roblox with like specifically having a lot of content that you could say it's Roblox but with better graphics because Roblox looks terrible. But yeah, they
My
are
guy just
definitely
slid
trying to
right
compete
his
with
death
Roblox.
promo. Ooh, that was nasty. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's what I heard. I was
just
I was surprised, and I was telling my son about Halo, and he's like, I could play Halo, and I'm like, son, you're not ready for Halo.
don't be doing your son like that, man.
Oh, he needs to know.
Have your son do what I did with my son. I think my son's pretty decent with Halo now. He won't play with me, but he's decent.
I wonder why he won't play with you.
Oh, there we go. Forte.
He don't want to. He doesn't look. He doesn't play. He doesn't really play. He doesn't really play Halo like that anymore. It was kind of like a small little phase for him. But I had him go into the training mode,
Touchdown Lions.
and then I would.
Yeah, Lions just scored. Touchdown.
Lions just scored.
Oh, okay. So I would have him go into the training mode, and I would put him like up against like I started him out with I forgot what the levels are with the AI. I think it's is it recruit? No, it's whatever the second to lowest level was. And so once he got good at like killing them, then I said, all right, good, you're doing pretty good. I bumped it up a bit. And I just kept bumping it up until like he was figuring out like the best way to survive against, the higher level AI. And whenever you play Halo Infinite and like you say, you get a couple of like, quitters or disconnects, and then like they don't add like a player back if they don't have one to add, or it take a while. When they will give you a bot to go on your squad, like that person is like the second lowest level of like difficulty AI. Like my son got up to the point where he was like regularly killing the second highest level, and I said, all right, you're getting pretty good now you could kind of, but it's just, I think he stopped playing honestly because the player base is so small that like ain't nobody in there but no lifers. Ain't nobody, there is no like, I could kill this guy. I'm in a lobby with like-minded. Nah, everybody in there is a killer. Because it's just like ain't nobody really playing it like that no more. So it's but so he stopped for a while. But
you need to change your name to Killer Cam. I'm just saying.
Killer Kanye.
Oh my
God. Killer Kanye.
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. That Killer Cam flow. Anyway, let's get into the rapid fire topics so we can get up out of here. So first rapid fire topic is humanoid origin. I would probably say most people don't know what the heck that studio is, and that's fine because Humanoid Origin is already shut down. This was a studio that was founded by Casey Hudson, who was the former studio head, former director of BioWare. And Casey Hudson started this studio probably about 2 or 3 years ago after he left EA and BioWare. And it's already, unfortunately, being shut down due to a funding issue. They were working on an original sci-fi IP. Any thoughts on this, Logic? What do you think about that?
Comment on just the media coverage, not necessarily the story itself, but I find it really funny that when the headlines kind of list Casey's pedigree, that they typically refer to him as like the father of Mass Effect and something else.
Which is wild.
None of them talk about him heading up Anthem.
No, not at all. No.
That's really strange to me. I mean, I don't think it's pertinent. I don't think his failure at Anthem is why led to the shutdown of his studio. But I mean, the shutdown of his studio is just like it's rough out here in these streets. His compatriot, who I can't remember the name of his studio, also had another studio I think had primarily received a funding line from NetEase, who I think cut off their funding for the following round, and so that's another startup studio that had been platformed.
That kind of came from BioWare. Is it the studio that's making Internal Strands?
I can't remember. I'll look that up. But there's Casey Studio and there's another studio by BioWare that's.
There's about 3.
Yeah.
So there's Yellow Brick Games, which is making Eternal Strands. That game is being led by Mike Laidlaw.
Yeah, Laidlaw.
Yeah. And that game actually, it was announced today. It will launch in Game Pass, and I saw the date. I think that's January. I think it's going to launch in January on everything. It's a multi-platform game, but it will also be in Game Pass. But yeah, that's Mike Laidlaw's game. And then there's Archetype Entertainment with what's the guy's name? Something Olin is his last name. He was the director for Neverwinter Nights, and he did a lot of other work. James Olin. Yeah. James Olin, yes. Yeah. He and Drew Karpyshyn, who was the lead writer on Mass Effect 1, 2, and parts of 3, they have a studio called Archetype Entertainment, and they are making a game called Exodus, which looks like a mix of Mass Effect with Interstellar, the movie Interstellar. So looks very dope. Supposed to come out next year. So those are the only 2 studios outside of Humanoid that Casey Hudson had that I was aware of, but it could be more. I mean, it's so many developers left.
Drew Karpyshyn's actually part of Archetype as well, Entertainment.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. That's the game Exodus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Worlds Untold. Mac Walters' studio. So this
Mac Walters has a studio. Oh yeah, because I forgot that Mac Walters left. He left pretty recently though.
Yeah, so Mac Walters' World Untold studio on pause as it seeks new funding partner. This is a goodbye. There's more to come. BioWare alumni Mac Walters says. Second studio founded by BioWare alumni has shuttered in as many days. Mac Walters' Worlds Untold, which had been backed by NetEase, announced it was pausing operations until it can locate further funding. In a statement posted to LinkedIn, Walters said the decision was heartbreaking, adding he was deeply grateful for the time we've had together at the studio.
I remember that announcement. That was announced like a couple of months ago, correct?
This was... No, this was just November 27th. So it was over the Thanksgiving break.
Oh.
Yeah, this is one that the word on this came out like right on the heels of Casey Hudson's. So it's like Casey Hudson's story ran, and then like the very next day, this one dropped.
Maybe that's why I kind of just didn't. Casey Hudson is the bigger name, I guess. So I guess that just kind of like it may have just bled into the the whole thought of former BioWare dev studio is not looking good kind of mindset, I guess. That sucks. The thing is, and I've always said this when it comes to like the whole thought process of what happens with like the way the industry moves and the way industry changes, and I've always kind of felt like it's just kind of organic how you'll see a big studio kind of like no longer have the luster that it once had, and a lot of the veteran developers that made them who they are leave and they start their own thing, and people wonder about like the old studio, will they ever really have enough anymore? And we see that a lot about BioWare itself, but people forget that like BioWare was kind of like, or maybe they never knew, born out of what was happened with Interplay. And so out of Interplay came In Exile, Bethesda, Obsidian, and BioWare. And so a lot of the talent that left there went there, and they had their own take and their own kind of spin on the same game design. And I could really see like these other studios going on and kind of continue on the same thing. They won't make games exactly the way they did at BioWare. They're not going to give you another Mass Effect and another Dragon Age, but you will see like the foundations of those games in the new stuff they do, as well as their own spin and their own new thing going forward. Or, we'll just continue to get, new studios coming up, because five years ago, no one knew who the hell Larian was. And now everyone's like, they love Larian. No one really knew. Everyone at one point thought From Software was just some little studio that just loved making really hard games. Now everything they do is gold, and you got Game Award shows trying to nominate their DLCs for Game of the Year. It's just, there's always a time for everyone. And so I guess I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be dismissive of the studios like falling, but like it happens. But then there's always like the studios that get born out of that and they become really great or become really good. So we'll see what happens. Forte, any thoughts on Humanoid? Anything you want to say on that?
No, man, it's just, it's going to be like kind of the story of, a lot of like another topic later on today. It's hard out here right now, man. It's like people aren't buying as many games as they were buying before. A lot of people are stuck playing on older consoles. Some people are waiting for the next generation to finally arrive when it comes to all of their favorite games being, off of the platform that they're playing on already. And that's probably the negative and downside of just the games of a service industry right now. It entices people to like just stick with the things that they're playing, and it's also cheaper in a way too, unless you're one of those whales that just participate in buying stuff. So this is just the beginning. It's going to be more. We say this every year. There's always going to be some studios that just don't make the cut, and it's unfortunate. But for them, I'm not gonna say the writing was on the wall, because I really didn't know anything really about it. But as I was just reading up on it, it just seems like, this is gonna be the norm for at least the next couple of years, until we actually get some stability back inside of the industry. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wish all of them the best, and hope they all land on their feet and find a project or find something else that they truly love, because most of the developers, when stuff like this happens, they kind of leave the industry and go do something else. And that's kind of a loss. That's kind of a big loss to the industry itself too, because, if it was me, I wouldn't, as much as I love games, I wouldn't want to work in video games and make games, because it's very toxic. It's a one-sided conversation. You could be there for 10, 15 years and, and it's just like any other business or industry. It's like they don't really care about the person. They care about the money that you bring in and that dollar sign that is assigned to you. And once that dollar sign don't add up, time to move on. And for this whole studio, it seems like that dollar sign didn't meet the expectation of what they needed to do.
True. Enrique, anything you want to say on this before we move on to the next rapid fire topic?
No, I don't have anything to say on this one.
Cool. So Take-Two and 2K have now removed the 2K launcher on PC from all games that required it. So any game on Epic Games Store or Steam that you own that was from Take-Two or 2K and that required a launcher to launch no longer does so. And it's not coming back. And that is effective immediately. I would say so, yeah. That would include Grand Theft Auto.
I think they had their own launcher.
Yeah, so there is that. I don't know if that itself is going away as well, because I remember with Red Dead 2, back when it first came to PC, I remember playing it and being like annoyed because I bought it through Epic Game Store. I think, I bought it through Epic Game Store, and being annoyed that like every time I launched it, it would go directly to the 2K launcher first.
Yeah. Red Dead did use the 2K launcher. I just, Grand Theft Autos, that might be something completely different.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting, especially considering the earlier this year with Helldivers 2 and the PC community and the reaction to Sony trying to force people to do the sign up for PSN in order to play the game. And it seems as if 2K has kind of looked at the tea leaves and saw the way things were moving in that market and said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Preemptively before anyone complained. Logic, what are your thoughts on that?
Any reduction in launcher proliferation and propagation is good. I will say, for me, it's weird. It's one of those things that I full on give credit to Rockstar to 2K for doing that. But I also don't hold it against PC companies when they put a launcher on, because we just lost that war, like 8 years ago. We tried to mount it, we tried to fight it, we lost it. And it's it's just where we are today. As long as they are not, as long as they don't invoke, they don't destabilize your operating system and negatively impact performance somehow, then I'm just like, I'm over it. But it's one less thing you have to install.
True. I think the market always just kind of dictates what's going to be acceptable. Like a company's always going to push for things that, benefits them and don't really benefit you all that much. And how you accept it is the fact, things happen and the market says, we don't want this. And then you see, review bombs or whatever, occurs with other companies. And then the market starts to dictate what it will and will not accept. And then there's the reaction to that, which is, all right, well, people stop removing those launchers. We see what Ubisoft with, Ubisoft with when they release, they're now starting to release all their games on Steam and not force people to use the Ubisoft app. Assassin's Creed Shadows, when it comes out in February, will be also on Steam the same day, which is a bit different than how they've done things this year, which I would say probably has severely affected the release of some of their titles, especially the Prince of Persia game that came out earlier this year. We see with EA, with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, EA had allowed Dragon Age Veilguard to be played without needing to sign up to the EA app. It was optional. So, I think a lot of the companies have realized we don't want to be Sony. we don't want that work. We don't want that smoke. Enrique, any thoughts about this?
No, I don't have any. I guess for me as a gamer, too many launchers is annoying, or it's just kind of like I heard you mention Sony, so I know that's kind of a big one on PC. So less launchers in my book, the less launchers, the better, because I do find them a bit annoying. It's kind of like an extra thing that you have to go through. So, and then some launchers, have bugs, performance issues that be disruptive to the gaming experience. So, and I'm always concerned too about like how much data are they collecting on us too. I've always wondered that. Like that's kind of been a little bit of concern of mine with launchers. But
I was just about to say that, Enrique. I'm glad you mentioned it. So every single PC launcher that's out there, something that they do that really annoys me is when you shut it down, it's not really shut down. It's not like actively using up cycles, but it is running in the background, even though you turned it off. And you literally, to really get it to not be like hanging around and causing, like as minor as it is, taking up utilization on your CPU, you need to really go into Task Manager, find the launcher sitting there with your background processes and literally in task. And that's all of them. Steam, Epic Games Store, EA app, Ubisoft app is notorious for that. They all do it, and it's just annoying, especially if you play a lot of games on a lot of different platforms or a lot of different apps. Over the course of whatever your gaming session is, you will end up having like all the launchers that you have installed, just sitting around the background collecting data, which is exactly what they want. They want to collect data. They want to know what you're playing. They want to know how long you're playing it. Mm-hmm. So they can use that for market research for how they decide to plan on work on things in the future, which I understand. But at the same time, nah. Not my PC.
Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, I'm sorry, real quick. I do need to jump. I know I just got here, but I got to go handle some children's that aren't going to bed.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I'm glad you were able to join us for a short period of time. We got to bring you back on for a full episode at some point.
I would have been here sooner too, and then I was on Crossfire before that went over. So, yeah. But no, thanks for the invite. Yeah, I definitely want to come back because it's been a while. So
it has. Yeah. Well, we'll bring you back on before the new year is out. Definitely. And we definitely gotta. I've been missing too many episodes of Brap, so I gotta jump back in there as well.
We had Forte join us the other. Was it last Friday? Forte.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It was the last Friday or the Friday before. Whatever the last time you did it on a Friday.
Oh, Black Friday. It was Black Friday.
Did I come in on Black Friday?
Yeah. You at the store.
Yeah. I was at the store. I came in while I was at work. Y'all were talking about sales, and I was like, I need to take a break, and I walked. I was on it for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yep. So, but now, gentlemen, been a pleasure as always.
Cool, man. Hey, Enrique, let everyone know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, I'm not on X as much, but I'm there, Brap_podcast, and then I'm on the other place, which I don't want to advertise because I've seen some people starting to trickle over there. But there's another app that I'm on that people have migrated to. You can probably figure it out.
A safe haven.
Yeah, I'm there. You can find me there.
Are the skies blue over there?
The skies are bluer, and I'll just leave it at that. So,
yeah.
But
very blue. Yeah.
And then doing a Brap. I couldn't do Brap yesterday because I had basketball practice till like 9:15.
You about to go play for the Lakers? They need help.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm about to lace them up. No, I'm an assistant coach on my son's team, so they had a late practice. But Slomo, he's out there balling, man. I got to tell you some stories.
But do you be getting? do you be actually getting on your son while he out there on the court?
Oh, and you know this.
Acting like a dad while he on the court instead of a coach?
Yes.
Oh my God. He'd probably be like, shut up.
I'm like, go to the hoop. You like
go to the hoop.
He's one of the tallest kids on the team, and he's not like he's thin, but he's not thin. You know what I mean? Like he's solid thin, if that makes any sense. He's like Megatron Forte. That's probably the best way to describe it. Remember how Jack Calvin? Yeah. I mean, he's a bit, but he was in shape, right? So that's him. And so when he takes to the paint, people try to stop him. Bodies just bounce off of him.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, it's like running to a brick wall. So, but so Brap actually tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So that's the makeup show tomorrow night, 9 p.m. So if you gentlemen can make it, love to have you guys there. Be great to discuss video games. So
we'll do. I will try to make sure I can make it and come through. And I'm infrequent, but I'll be trying to make it there.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Man. I don't want to hold you too much longer. I know you gotta get going.
Yeah, I got some screaming upstairs, so I gotta go see what's going on.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.
All right. Where we were with the topics. What is? Oh, Cyberpunk. Yeah. So Cyberpunk is CDPR that is recently spoke on some things going on with them. They confirmed that Cyberpunk is getting another adaptation on Netflix. This one will be animated like the last one was. Edge Runners hopefully will be just as high of quality because Edge Runners is fantastic. CDPR currently has 64 developers as of October working on Project Orion, which is the next Cyberpunk game. While the bulk of the studio, another 400 developers, are working on the next Witcher game, which they believe that the next Witcher game, Witcher 4, will be bigger. And in their words, not mine, because I don't want people to say, "Oh, you're biased," but they're saying better than The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. That remains to be seen. But they believe that their studio organization is better now than it was 4 years ago, and they're going to be able to avoid the buggy launch that Cyberpunk had, including having a better review processes as they go through production, and having a more lengthy time in pre-production than they had before. And they also are trying to, I guess, correct the record on their game engine switch, that they switched to Unreal Engine 5 not because of Cyberpunk's launch, but they wanted to share technology between multiple projects, which I don't know how they weren't able to do that with their own proprietary engine, but whatever. Game Logic, what are your thoughts about CDPR and what's going on with their current projects? Still there, Logic?
Yeah, I was just formulating an answer.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like, not too much. It sounds like they took a good kind of hard look after, or as they were working on Cyberpunk, and kind of road mapped out like where they were going strategically. And I talked a lot about in the earlier Xbox days of this generation about mismanaging pipelines, and Xbox wasn't the only topic of that. They were one of the topics is they're just one of the largest publishers out there right now with the most studios, and they're trying to feed a subscription service, which yields some particular dynamics. But that road mapping of and figuring out where you're going to put people when is a major part of getting a game to stick the landing. I had talked kind of like they're doing now. I talked also in that time about how a lot of people don't understand that when you have a legacy product and you are continuing to develop on it, but then it starts to be
is that legacy product? You mean Red Engine?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time to start moving on to your next architectural evolution. Right, the tough thing in determining staffing is the natural thing you would think is, oh, I'm going to take all my good, sharp, greatest people and put them on the new thing, but that may not always actually be the necessarily best answer. Right, part of the answer might be, well, actually, I'm going to take my best people and leave them on the old thing because they don't need as much supervision. They're self-starters. They don't need numbers. Right, they just need the experts. And so, the truth of the matter is, it's never binary. It's never one of those answers or the other. It's trying to find the right balance and the right fit. The right answer is you got to leave some talented people on the old thing, but you also need to put talented people on the new thing, and figuring out that mix and that balance and when to start those conversions and move people over is the other tough thing. So, it's good that they've apparently put some thought to that and are trying to, manage it in a nuanced, sophisticated style. Which will hopefully lead to them being successful.
Cool. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I always just kind of assumed that it would just make development simpler, where you're not, because clearly if you look at Cyberpunk visually compared to The Witcher 3, they definitely did a lot of improvements on the game engine and you kind of see those improvements as they've gone on and made more games. You see that you see the glow up visually big time. And I just kind of wondered, just well, you're developing a game and then you also got to develop the tools or upgrade the tools that make the game look the way it looks and hit the visual fidelity and the actual vision that you were looking for. When you're doing all that, that's also taking up time in development too, because you got people waiting on specific things to get done, waiting on new tools. For this is the first Cyberpunk, for example, first game they did in first person. That's a different level of talent. That's a different, you got shooting guns, which is something that they didn't have before in their previous games. All right, so we need to learn how to do that better, make it feel good, make it feel right, adapt a lot of the RPG elements into a cyberpunk kind of world that we haven't really done before. That's a lot of extra stuff that you need to build into the game, in addition to the regular things that you be building just because it's a new IP. And when you're doing all that, who wants to have to worry about creating or iterating on a proprietary game engine as well while you're trying to balance all those things? It just makes sense to me that you would want to go to Unreal Engine, despite how amazing Cyberpunk looks. You want to probably think that we can maybe potentially move some of the tools that we're using over there and kind of do the same thing, and then just do it faster, because we don't have to actually make the engine and keep it going. Forte, what were your thoughts on this?
I mean, I haven't really been paying that much attention to it for the most part. Really doesn't bother me. What at one bit?
What? What's that sound?
I was trying to come up with something, but I really just don't care.
I feel you. It's fine. You don't have to care. This is why it's a rapid fire topic. It's not
It's an
Go
interesting case study. Back on the topic, you and I were talking about originally about where you put teams and talent. The interesting case study is take a look at Codemasters, and obviously I'm a big racing game fan. Codemasters is having the opposite experience, right? So they tried to shift from their I think it's their Ego engine, Ego or Evo, I can't remember which one it is for them, but it's Ego, I guess. So their F1 team is sticking with their Ego engine. What they were supposed to do is they were supposed to convert everyone over to Unreal. But the problem is EA Sports WRC 23, which was supposed to be a big, huge release, right? The WRC license had been held by, I can't remember what the name of the studio is, Cortron or Colortron or something like that, some studio that starts with a K. It had been held by that. They're a small development studio. They're not a super big AAA studio owned by a big publisher. It had been a stick in EA's craw for a very long time that license had gone to this small upstart studio. EA finally got the license from them and then put out its first game under that license, and at the time made the effort to try and shift to Unreal 4, which is where all of Codemasters, who had been purchased by EA, was supposed to be shifting. And EA Sports WRC 23 has didn't stick the landing. It's at mixed reviews on Steam, and I think that's actually an improvement from where it was. I have the game. It was just an absolutely horrific experience, particularly in comparison to Codemasters, who up until I think I still rank them as one of my top 5 favorite studios of all time, but they've lost a ton of shine. I mean, I had taken them off the list. I actually put them back on, I think, because their F1 team, having seen what happened to EAW, right, decided, nah, we ain't doing that right now. Y'all go down the road on your own. We'll stay on the Ego engine until everybody figures this stuff out. So, but that's just right there again a prime example of you've got talented people, and I mean people weren't necessarily going to shift teams in this case. It was a matter of technology, but the Formula One team is obviously your best team. They are your marquee team. Right, they are the golden standard for the Codemaster Studio, but you put this other team and put them on the new technology, but you don't have the super talented team follow suit, right? Because it makes more sense to keep them chugging away on the old technology, delivering a thing that's kind of guaranteed and deterministic.
That makes sense, though. That does make sense, and it's I think I have heard you speak so highly of Codemasters before. I don't think I've really played. I'm not big into racers, so I guess just I don't get that deep into the weeds, you know. So there's a lot of what they make is not really my speed, but I mean that does make a lot of sense in regards to managing resources and trying to figure out the best way to get things done. No, Forte don't care about this topic, but I do think Forte cares about this next one. So
maybe.
Oh no, you definitely care about this one.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
So Intel Battle Mage. Intel is releasing, they've announced their new Battle Mage GPUs. The B580 and the B570. The 580 will launch this month. The 570 will launch in January. They will launch at $249 and $219. Intel claims, these are Intel here. So again, we do not listen, well, we will listen, but we will not believe performance measurements by the people who are trying to sell you a product. We listen to independently tested sources that have proven themselves to be trustworthy and unbiased. That said, Intel claims that it will on average be 24% faster than their ARC GPUs.
Lord have mercy.
Claims stop it. Claims it is targeting to compete with Nvidia's RTX 4060 and 1080p gaming, but it does claim that the B580 specifically will be 10% faster than the 4060 in pure rasterization and 25% faster in ray tracing, which is pretty. That's the part I want to. That's very bold. 25% faster in ray tracing. Okay, you gonna have. I want to see that.
Isn't this the first iteration too?
This is their second. Like the ARC GPUs did ray tracing as well.
Okay, yeah.
They actually did it when even though the GPUs were only like 1080p really for like 1080p gaming, when they compared their ray tracing quality, the ray tracing quality was better than AMD's ray tracing.
My God.
So it's a bold claim because they didn't say this about AMD GPU. They said this about an Nvidia GPU. They said, no, those guys, their card that's near our level, we better than that. So I'll start with you, Forte. What are your thoughts on these very bold claims from Nvidia?
Man, I don't even believe Nvidia until and Nvidia actually lives up to those numbers. They just charge you too much for them. So I have to. No, bro. Listen, second generation. There is a lot of improvements when it comes to your second time around. 3080s when it came to rasterization, when it came to ray tracing was significantly better when it was with the 2000 series might as well not have, the 20 series might as well not have ray tracing at all. That was like the worst implementation of ray tracing, but it was the first phase of it. So I would have to see more. It's like every time I see graphical settings or I see anything where it's like this new technology that's getting pushed forward by these manufacturers when it comes to like graphical fidelity, I just roll my eyes because I'm like, really? Okay, we'll wait and see on that, because it's not like we're really struggling. And to me, nothing's really new. Is it really new when you're still behind the times of like Nvidia? Like, I understand you're trying to catch up to them, but putting bold claims out there saying that you're 25% faster ray tracing and rasterization better than what you say, a 4060? Is that what you said?
Yes, a 4060. They specifically called out a 4060.
Yeah, they got because it was the lowest common denominator. So when it comes to a 4,000 card, so if you're gonna, I mean, it's not like you gonna jump out and say we got better than 4080.
And Nvidia was like, all right, compare it to a 4070. No. We don't want that.
We don't want that.
That card over there, the little one that's hiding in the corner, that card, we better than them.
The one that's cowering in the corner, that is like the one that you could go out there and spend $350 and probably get on a good day for $250. But no, I mean, I like the fact that, with ARC, that that Intel is moving forward and everything, because we're not getting any type of we're not getting anything from AMD at this point. They pretty much gave up on the high end market, and I think I don't even think this is going to even get to the point where it's going to even compete with the high end market. I just think we need to get to a point where prices need to get back to a normal base, like when Nvidia came.
That's what my hope with Intel has always been.
Just get it back to a normal base.
Because AMD will be like, oh, we're better in rasterization, but we don't have the upscaler that's good, and we don't have the ray tracing that's as good. Okay, $100 less. What? No, man. You need to be specific. You need to be significantly less than Nvidia when you don't have all the features and you clearly don't have the brand value that they have in order to get people to really take you seriously. And yeah, you're gonna have to take a short-term L for a long-term gain, but that's something AMD has never really been willing to do. Right. And Intel seems to understand the pricing a bit better about where they are in the GPU market, which is nowhere. And that, like, in order to get people to even give you a shot, you need to be cheaper. And so even when ARC came out, the drivers were awful. But it was dirt cheap, and so, including myself, so many people just gave it a shot because you just wanted to see, maybe it's all right. Maybe, I want to help out because I want the market to get better. I don't want this Nvidia monopoly to continue. And so, I mean, I pitch that over to you, Logic. What do you think about the Battle Mage launch? And of course, we're not probably, I think the B580 comes out next week. So we probably won't get like independent benchmarks from, the various like Gamer Nexus and Hardware Unboxed and all the rest until next week. But what are your thoughts about the Intel's claims?
I'm not too worried about the claim. Like, all the companies have made claims, and like literally all of them have stepped on the rake right here in Q4 24. Microsoft has had its hand in that with not rolling out not rolling out changes in 24H2 that at least AMD was dependent upon, right, for its 9000 series chip launch. I like the move. It's still, despite the disappointment that we've had from a performance perspective from all of the parts that have released so far this fall, we're still in this window where we're getting a head-to-head battle royale. Now that battle royale, like I said, has been disappointing, right? Arrow Lake came out, Zen 5 came out. Both of them were lackluster landings.
Yeah.
And out of it, we got the 9800X 3D, which really, I mean, really, it's kind of like it stole the championship belt when there were a bunch of like really soft contenders, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, look, we're getting a Intel competitive part, which is a third vendor in the fight, at an incredibly low price point that's giving an option. I think that is prodding and encouraging both AMD and NVIDIA to potentially launch early. We have rumors and leaks that even though all of the ad copy has been indicating an RTX 5000 announcement at CES, there is the possibility that cards will actually become available and at least get out to reviewers before the announcement. So potentially this month in December. There's even the possibility that some may land in retail channels. and we've had leaks with vendor cards going up on Amazon. We've had a company representative. Granted, it was on like a Chinese podcast or an Asian podcast, and so it was the leak was supposedly translated. So there's a lack of certainty about that. But but there are these possibilities, and regardless, what we're going to have is we're going to have a match bringing a lot of heat in the month of January if we get AMD and Nvidia and we'll have Intel cards in the mix, right? And so for the first time in a very long time, DIYers will have available both AMD
new entries from like 3 different companies. It's very exciting, you know?
Yeah, we haven't had this, right? What we've had over the last few years since the pandemic is everybody's releases have been staggered. They have not gone head to head. It's very much been, Mickey, planning Rock's fights around Clubber Lang and ducking him, right? Is kind of what we've seen for the last 4 or 5 years. And so this is the first time in a very long time that all these things are coming out at the same time, going head to head, making themselves available. I know that I've been listening to the TechTuber podcast, and like they're kind of being driven nuts, right, with workload because they've got all these new parts in at the same time. And they've got to get through their individual ones, but obviously what people really want to hear and see is the head-to-heads. So, it's like I said, it's a good move. It's it kind of like you and I have talked about. What it gives is it gives people who are building starter boxes. I often use this colloquialism of broke-ass college kids. In a world where we have seen the erosion of the $500 GPU, the entry-level GPU, what used to be in Maximum PC in their budget build all the time, that's kind of gotten eroded. I mean, it's kind of come back now. I think, I want to say MSRP on the 4060 or maybe 4060 Ti or whatever was like $550, so it was still above that, although, frequently discounted down to that $500 price point. But now you have a part that's coming out that is, may not be the top of the next gen pile, but is certainly like in the same stadium as the next gen pile for performance, and it's a sub $300 part. Like, I think that I kind of laugh because we had a lot of PC gamers grousing about the 9800 X3D being like $30 over MSRP than the 7800 X3D launched at, and I'm like, dudes, you're getting a performance part that is the literal king of gaming CPUs that's being enabled by 3D V-Cache, which wasn't part of like anybody's lineup before. So it's not just the equivalent part to the Intel part. It is the enthusiast part, right? That's the equivalent of the X900 series, right? That used to, for Intel, used to be like a $700 to up to like a $1,000 chip. Right, you now have this chip available at sub $500 parts. I don't know that that's anything to complain about. So, it's I think it's good.
Yeah, I'll say this, and then we can move on. I think I'm always rooting for Intel in the GPU space, but I'm done with them in the CPU space. Like I've said that recently, even though all of my builds have been Intel CPU based. When I build my next one, and any builds going forward, they're going to be AMD because I just don't trust Intel. And they're going to have a new CEO coming soon. That's fine. I don't care until they prove to me that they are better. I'm not touching them. But when it comes to GPUs, due to the fact that I want more competition in that space, I will continue to root for them despite my lack of enthusiasm with how well they're actually going to do. But just having someone in the space that's providing a lower cost option, yeah, you're getting lesser than what NVIDIA provides, but clearly there are going to be some people that are going to jump on that, like Floodzilla, friend of the channel. Floodzilla is going to buy a B580. And he can't wait to go get his hands on it, put it in the build. And I think for a lot of the enthusiasts, they want to put something together, really like see if what it can do. And hopefully, eventually in the future, as the years goes on and Intel gets more comfortable with this, forgot the name of the other ones. They all seem to be based on like some kind of Dungeons and Dragons thing, Ark, Battle Mage. The other one's probably, they look like they're going down the alphabet. So the other one's probably like, I don't know, Champion or, some weird name, but like whatever the next ones are in the future, I'm hoping that eventually they're going to ramp up to doing like mid-level GPU power, then high end at some point, and they're never going to get there. People just automatically just go, oh, it's $250, so clearly it must be trash,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, last thing for the rapid fire before we get into the real topics. Indiana Jones, this is very late because I didn't really get a chance to really like focus in on this because it weird how they chose to drop the embargo at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Indiana Jones, the game being made by Machine Games, the Metacritic scores for that release, because the review embargo is up, and it started out with very, very good review scores on Metacritic with an 87 on PC and 86 on Xbox. Looking pretty good so far. Let me just double check, make sure, because it was only like 40 reviews, so I want to make sure that didn't change going forward. But Forte, what are your thoughts on Indiana Jones?
Yeah, I didn't expect to see the reviews. I just looked at Twitter today or X and saw that a lot of them was
it's still 87 and 86.
I looked at Metacritic and I was like, oh, so the review embargo must have ended already. And I know only the deluxe edition of the game is releasing tonight or tomorrow at some point, and then the regular version is on the 9th. It looks very promising. I think the only thing that's really still going to hold the game back is the fact that it's first person instead of third person. But it looks like a lot of people are still enjoying the game, which is really, truly all that matters. But definitely looking forward to it. Something a little bit different. Get a chance to relive our childhood hero and stuff, because everybody loved Indiana Jones when they were younger. But and then what's his name that does his voice? I forget his name. Troy Baker, right?
Troy Baker, yeah.
Yeah, dude, he sounds just like that dude's incredible, dude. Like the fact that he can sound just like
he is the best voice actor in the business. I just wish that he wasn't like how some studios feel like he's the only voice actor in the business.
Yeah.
There's other people out there.
Yeah, but he sounds just like Harrison Ford, and I was like, Jesus Christ, you wouldn't even know it wasn't him. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm definitely not jumping. Now that's the other thing. Are they going to have some type of deluxe upgrade so you can play it early on the 6th, or is it through Game Pass, or is it just you got to buy the full version of the game?
So you have to get like some kind of early version, some different edition that's like an additional like $30 on top of its base packs.
They're doing
in order to play it early.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing they did with Call of Duty and all the other games. Okay.
Now on PC, apparently there's a lot of little issues there, and I did shout out to the Iron Lords. I watched a little bit of their stream. They were discussing their time with it. And shout out to Rand as well, Rand Thor 19. He was there with them. Something that I noticed what they were speaking on was, it was particularly Lord Sovereign that said that he has two different PC builds. He's got an NVIDIA based build, and he's got an all AMD build. And the AMD one actually he's got a 4090 in the other one and a 7900 XTX in his AMD build, and his AMD build actually performed better. I guess it didn't have the performance issues that the Nvidia build did, and maybe that one needed a
the Nvidia build
update.
going to need an update
Yeah,
because
there's actually a
they always
driver
do it.
update. I got a notification earlier while we were doing the podcast. There's a new driver update available, so I'll knock that out once the stream is over. But there was that, and many of them complained on PC of what appeared to be traversal stutter. It's not running on Unreal Engine, so there's not. I don't think there's a shader cache issue, but there is traversal stutter that goes on, and they mentioned that, and that wasn't present on consoles, on Xbox console. And in addition to the AI being like pretty dumb, like it's not. From what Rand told me, it's not like it's not a game breaking stupid issue, but it's also it's outweighed by the positives, but it's not great.
Right.
Like to be clear, there'll be times where you may get the attention of guards, and then you'll go like hide behind a pillar, and they won't look for you too hard, and then they just go back after a while, go back to their patrol. And it's not like you need to increase the difficulty. It's just like there's no level of difficulty that fixes how bad the AI is, which I mean, depending on who you are, whether you care about that, how difficult the game is, then that may or may not really affect you too much, but that is something to note. But I'll find out for myself next week. I'll wait for its the standard launch. And I'll play it through Game Pass and see what's up. It also, if you're playing the early version, you do not have ray tracing.
Huh?
Yes. So the ray tracing was not ready
at
launch.
Why release the game?
And so
why release
one
the
hand
game?
doesn't know what the other hand is doing. But the ray tracing supposedly will be there with the day one patch. And so that's when you'll get ray tracing.
So basically spend more money.
So I'm waiting.
So basically spend more money and get a GIMP version of the game.
Well, because you have to. I mean, the reason you have to put the game out is because you have to free the subscription service.
Oh man, that's why. Wait, dog. Wait a minute, bro. You're literally paying. You're literally paying more money to play a GIMP version of the game.
If you're buying it, if you're a Game Pass consumer, you're just getting it regardless, and those are the people they have to feed.
You're still
but if you have the Game Pass version, you still gotta pay $30 to play the early version. The people who are playing it right now are playing the early version.
So they're paying
the actual
$30.
Standard version doesn't come out until isn't available for everyone until next week.
Yeah,
and that's where there will be ray tracing.
Yeah, so you're either paying $100 for the game, or you're spending $30 in Game Pass to play a GIMP version of the game. It won't be me, bro.
I mean, but Forte, we did that for Starfield.
No, see, Starfield, but the thing about Starfield, nobody knew Starfield was gimped at the beginning. People know this is gimped.
I kind of figured it was going to be gimped off of Todd Howard's comments.
No. I'm saying, but they didn't come out and say stuff was going to be missing at the very beginning, like they said this is. It's like, I feel like there's a big difference. Okay, as much as I hated the way they treated Halo, at least you knew things weren't going to be there at the beginning. So if you decided to buy in, even if you waited like to the release of the full game, you were still getting the same version of the game. So you might as well just played it early. This is like, we're literally telling you like, hey, ray tracing will not be there until the full version of the game comes out. And this isn't like a multiplayer game. This is a single player experience that in 3 days, a lot of people are going to probably be that stick with it. Will probably be 50 to 60% through the game. They're not going to probably go back and look like, oh, let me go check out what this ray tracing looks like because, I already put 30 hours into it. Yeah, that's stupid as hell. It's like dumb as.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that it's a little more egregious. I mean, I don't think that the stuff that was kind of ambiguous or left off the table in Starfield was non-impactful. I mean, I definitely felt like we were getting a less than polished launch with the notion that we were only getting FSR 2.0, and there was no indication of whether or not they were ever going to do DLSS right off the bat.
But they actually were asked that specifically, and they avoided the question, which seemed to have been due to a marketing deal with AMD, and AMD had to go completely change a lot of stuff behind the scenes, where they stopped basically nudging developers to just not use DLSS at all. But
and I mean, hopefully this will get here. I'm highly skeptical about whether or not you put out a game where ray tracing is not available, and then but magically it's going to be available 1 week later. Like, I don't buy that ray tracing was just 1 week out of the box from making the timeline.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100% too.
Yeah, that does seem a bit odd. I wouldn't necessarily. In a rare turn of events, I agree with Rodimus in the chat. Not having ray tracing doesn't mean the game is gimped. And I would say, it's not like the things that I saw visually from the game. Well, I thought the art style was good. I thought the visuals would be good, even though I generally overall feel like the game, like it's not Wolfenstein. It's an immersive sim that is Indiana Jones, and it's in first person, where I just would have preferred third person straight up. And so I'm still going to try it, but it's not really my speed. But that said, not having ray tracing,
no, he's
I wouldn't
right.
call it gimped.
Yeah, he's right.
I would, especially considering it's coming a little bit later. This is more of, if you're really a massive Indiana Jones fan and you really want to play this like right now and you can't wait, then yeah, and most people, unless you got a 4090 or a 4080 Super, you're not really out here playing at 4K DLSS quality and ray tracing max to freak out. You're probably turning it off anyway. So it's not that big a deal, but it still is something that, like, I don't know, could you have waited a week to launch this to make sure that you had all the features there?
That's all I'm
for the
saying.
People who were going to pay extra. I mean, like, that definitely feels like that's something that should have been discussed, but
yeah, that's my whole biggest thing. It may be like, and he's right. And the Rodimus, I do agree with you. Gimped is the wrong word. I'm sitting on my elitist couch because, for me, I could turn that stuff on day one and not have to worry about it at all. But I just don't like the fact that there's a paid option that won't have the full blown experience day one. Now, if it was like a situation where it was early access for like Game Pass Ultimate people got like the deluxe edition 3 days early. Well, that's part of your subscription, and then if they tell people like, hey, the full version won't be available, not the full version, but the version with ray tracing won't be available to the 6th or the 9th, 3 days later, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, you already got your Game Pass Ultimate subscription. That's fine. You just get early access to the game. And then on the 9th, 3 days later, when it opens up to everybody, that stuff will be there. You're paying for early access. Like, I always felt like Game Pass Ultimate, if you're doing like early access stuff, that should be where the early access is, because you're paying more money monthly to facilitate and get that option and stuff. If that was the case, then I would be like, oh, that's whatever. But the fact that there's a $30 option for you to upgrade, and I guess that's not Microsoft's problem. It's the people that are willing to pay $30 to play it 3 days early, and or pay $100 to just get the full game early. I mean, that's not really a Microsoft problem. That's more of a consumer problem. And if consumers are willing to do it, more power to them. I just don't like the fact that there's something missing when you're paying extra for something to come early.
Yeah, and I'm going to push back on you guys a little bit. Like, this isn't a mid-pack game. This isn't a AA game. There are still such a thing as flagship releases. There are still such a thing as marquee properties. And marquee properties absolutely are expected to have ray tracing at launch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, just don't give me that.
Right, exactly.
Everybody's free to codify whatever your expectations are, right? I know for me, one of my expectations in this generation of PC games, right, and games on console, but particularly on PC games, I expect you to come to the fight with at least one of the three types of acceleration, AI, whatever implemented. Like you either got to show up with FSR, DLSS, or XESS. And you better not show up with just XESS. Like if you're gonna show up with XESS, you better have
right, or just show up with FSR the way Starfield did. Like I understand how you feel. For me, not having the upscalers, which affect performance significantly, is a bigger deal than not having to wait a few days for race racing. For me, that's just it's a bigger deal for me. But I understand how you feel, because especially if like there's something that you're looking forward to and you're looking forward to seeing it in that particular way, and you have to wait. Well, then all right, it does seem to be this is a pattern of Xbox first party. Because if you look at, like, I saw something today that said that Forza Motorsport is finally getting ray trace global illumination in the game. And I'm like, yo, that came out last year. So it's just like,
right. And that's
these features keep seeming to come out later and later on Xbox releases, where people are just expected to just like, oh, just deal with 30 FPS. And then we'll give you, performance modes later on. Or in the case of, real quick, with the Xbox PC app specifically, Steam version has all the upscalers. The Xbox version will have none. There's a particular game that came out like that. It was Still Wakes the Deep, I think. What it was that had that, and it's just like, you do want people to play this through your service, right? Because it's like, that's just not, you gotta do better, and I do agree about that. Like, this stuff does need to improve. I just don't feel the lack of ray tracing with the early edition is as big a deal as the other stuff. That's all.
And I wasn't trying to say that it's the equivalent of the upscalers, right? But I'm saying that's my analogy, right? Everybody has to have their minimum expectations for a game, and what I do take exception to, just in terms of logic, or at least exception in terms of, like, it's just not the way I would think about it, is like you don't get a pass on things because it's a Game Pass game. That is the part to me that is unacceptable. Because if this were just a game sold at launch as a regular commercially available property, I think people would have more of a problem with it. And the thing you just mentioned, right, about RGTI just coming to Forza, again, particularly in a world where Halo has fallen off, Forza is the flagship of Xbox. So there's a greater and racing titles have always been that launch title, that marquee title, that tech demo, right, that you implement in order to show off the capabilities, right, of the console or on PC to take advantage of all the features that are available. And so to put something like that out, and Forza Motorsport, I mean, is not well received by the Steam community. Right, I think it's still at mixed reviews at best. It has been mostly negative at points, since its launch for an extended part of its life cycle. Like, it's hard for me to swallow putting out games at a certain level because it's acceptable to consumers on Game Pass, but you're concurrently putting those titles out on Steam, and you just accept that the Steam community is disappointed by them. Right, and you eventually get around to improving them on that other storefront. Like, that's a problem.
Before we finally get into the main topics, I did want to address a question in the chat real quick. So what is considered? I want both of your opinions on this. What is considered launch? Is it the early access period, or is it the standard launch date?
It's whenever the game is made commercially available.
The day, exactly.
And so
it's the early access period.
You're held accountable for its performance on the market at the early access point.
Yes, because
I agree with you guys, but I wouldn't even call, like, because I think what can be confusing is the term early access, because games like whatever the game that the Ori devs have made, is in early access. Hades 2 is in early access, but that early access is very different than what this is. Those games are in early access because the games are unfinished. They're literally not finished games. They're unfinished games that are still being worked on, are subject to many changes as they go on to launch, and eventually it will be a fully launched game at some point within another year or two or so. This is essentially early access in the sense of, hey, you want to play this completed game a week earlier? Well, pay us money and we'll give you that a week earlier. It's just the intention and the mindset of the person that is paying that is that the version of the game they're playing a week earlier is no different than the version of the game that they would be playing at the standard time that everyone else will have access to it. Now, if you recall, with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, they had a early access period the way Starfield did and the way Indiana Jones currently does, but their early access period was rife with issues. The servers weren't working right. People couldn't get into multiplayer. It was a mess. And they apologized and gave people all kinds of things, to various degrees of level of quality or how people felt about it. But they recognized that like people paid extra money for early access, and they aren't getting a good experience out of that, and definitely something that would not be the same kind of experience that they would have got if they just would have saved their money and played it at launch. And so when you are not really living up to the particular ideal, then what people expect with expectations, that's something that needs to be addressed, and it's not okay. We could say it's not as big a deal as other things, but we can't say that it's like a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So
it does.
Moving on to our main topic, and something that I want to give Logic his flowers. Because I recall Logic being on earlier this year, probably had been sometime in the spring. And Logic was saying specifically, we were talking about XDefiant, and it had just launched. And it had like something crazy like 3 to 7 million. I know that's a wide number, but I think it was 3 and 7 are in my head. I feel like it was somewhere, one of those numbers was it. But in one day, actually it was 3. They had 3 million players in one day and 7 million players in a week. And we were talking about how a massive success that was. And Logic, you really were on point when you said, and this is something we always say, but you were very, very like on top of the fact that like this is a live service game. A great launch is great, but how you looking 6 months from now? How you looking a year from now? That's the most important thing. And here we are, roughly 8 or 9 months from launch, and Ubisoft has announced that that XDefiant is ending. They have already made it so you cannot download the game any further. They're not accepting any more downloads. If you already have the game installed, if you're already playing the game, you will still have access to play that game until I think sometime in like spring or summer of 2025. Season 3 is still going forward, even though I believe it's not quite launched yet, but they're still going to launch it. And unfortunately, the Ubisoft studios in San Francisco and Osaka, Japan have both closed down. The Sydney team is also ramping down. Up to 270 developers are being laid off. Half of XDefiant's team is moving to other projects, most notably Red Storm, who was a support studio on the Division games, may now be working on the Division 3. So there's some slight upside there. Ubisoft had hoped the game would compete with Call of Duty, And if you recall, there was an Insider Gaming article that discussed internally how the directors for XDefiant kept trying to add new features, which was extending out the development, the launch of the game, because they kept adding new features they kept seeing in Call of Duty. But despite them trying to compete with Call of Duty, and them denying rumors they were shutting the game down, the player numbers kept declining, and what everyone figured was going to happen eventually did happen. So I'll start with you, Logic. Where do you think Ubisoft went wrong after having a successful launch for XDefiant?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, and I appreciate you giving me my flowers for that. I do want to also call out, and I'm calling this out because yes, admittedly, I'm patting myself on the back a little bit, but to say this is also to put the metric up so people can observe it and see whether or not it proves true. What I've more specifically said about this is remember I said specifically, it is not until you are delivering your second iteration of a content drop that you can really take a metric on what you perceive the staying power of that potential live service game is. So what I meant by that is Season 2, right, when you're doing your second evolution, right, your first evolution is typically your first evolution is kind of like the first 20 plays in a football game, right? That's already figured out. You already scripted that out and planned it. You're not really necessarily responding to what the market is doing. You said that that's what you're going to do, and that's what you're going to do, right? It's already planned and in the can. Your second drop is where you start seeing, right, where you're starting to get telemetry back, right, on how people are responding, and you start making plans that are based on adjustment. And that's the real tell that I think determines whether or not you're going to have staying power or not. And lo and behold, here we are, right, at Season 2, right, and Ubisoft made the call, right, to put this thing to bed. But I mean, where I think I don't really know where they went wrong. Like, this to me isn't quite the Halo Infinite thing, where there were things that I could say, that I said, look, from a business perspective, here are the points where they didn't make the transition. They didn't turn the corner to making that thing a game as a service, right? And I could say that's where they went wrong from a business perspective. As a person who played XDefiant, from a gameplay perspective, I know that the things that bothered me and that caused me to fall off was, number one, I felt like there was too much idle time in transiting back to the combat area on a respawn. It's not Battlefield bad, but the get with Battlefield is, verily, like, there's a freaking long time to get back to the fight when you respawn in Battlefield. But the get for that is that you're in a 32v32 battle on a super large, like, almost strategic level, like, battle space that is beyond, right, the small type of maps that you get, like, in a Call of Duty type of setting. But for me, there was just too much transit time getting back to the fight. Escort in particular just had some incredible cheese that people could utilize, that made the game unbalanced and made it basically, like, useless for you to be on a squad of randos if you were ever up against any kind of team that was on any kind of comms. Because basically what you could do if you knew what you were doing was you could sprint from the pre-staging time to the go live time in an escort match. You could sprint from your spawn over to the other to the escorting team spawn and camp outside their doors before they flew open, and just sit there and constantly take the team down as soon as they tried to exit the doors. And that could be the first.
the most organized teams who were definitely on comms would definitely do that. Yeah,
and that could be like the first 3 to 5 minutes of the match. So like the first 3 to 5 minutes of an escort match, you're just trying to get out of your stinking door. Like, it was ridiculous. And then the third thing was just the seasonal grind.
That also is a game design staple from Overwatch as well. But Overwatch, I would say, level design wise, you could do that in the beginning, but you couldn't hold it indefinitely. And part of that is because the way, when I say level design, Overwatch, some of the map areas would have like these wide open doors, and they do have this in XDefiant where when the match starts, there's like a barrier where you can shoot through the barrier, they can't hit you inside your spawn through that barrier. But the doorways are too narrow and too small, and so you still need to get out. And there's obstructions in the way that prevent like you from getting out from the bigger areas of it. And yeah, the other team could just camp that doorway and just be like, there's 3 doorways. We got it's 6-on-6, 2 people per doorway. If you got an organized squad, yeah, you're just popping them as soon as they walk through, and then you can do that indefinitely until eventually more like you finally get through. But it does waste a lot of time. Whereas in Overwatch, that may work for like 45 seconds before the squad's getting out, because they can shoot you clearly from these wide open spaces from the inside, and you got a lot of different kind of dynamic characters that could come out with shields, that like are way more efficient than the shield bros and XDefiant. But yeah, I do get your point. It was one part of the reason why I didn't really do, even though what I'm showing on the Jumbotron is escort gameplay. I really didn't do escort like that. I played TDM. As you guys know, I would like to, and I did like control points kind of stuff. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun game. It's just it didn't differentiate itself enough from Call of Duty, I think, and in not doing so, it allowed people to say, "Oh, I mean, this is cool for a time, but once Call of Duty drops, I'm out. Like I'm not gonna stick around for this and play this over Call of Duty, because there's not much here that isn't already in Call of Duty, where they have like specific like map designs a bit different, but like as far as gameplay goes, the ultimates in the little like kind of like hero shooter abilities that you get, but like those aren't as impactful as they were in the beta, where some of those factions are very strong in certain ways, and is what I was saying back during the beta. People were yelling for nerfs, and I'm like, don't nerf this. Just make the other ones as impactful as this is. So therefore, it changes the gameplay in such a dynamic way that it just makes it all more fun. If you nerf, like, for example, I think it was the Splinter Cell faction that could, like, for a time period, see through walls or go invisible, stuff like that. I'm like, if you nerf these things, but don't change anything else, you just make the gameplay more bland. And so that was always my thought with it. I felt I got bored with playing it, and it wasn't a game that I enjoyed playing by myself. I enjoy playing Call of Duty by myself, so I'm fine with that. I wasn't enjoying playing XDefiant by myself without other people who had finally quit and just wasn't having fun. They weren't having fun, and so if that's the case, then I'm not in. I'm out. And yeah, man. Forte, what do you think is the reason why this game failed after having a successful launch?
Oh, I just want to stick my toe in the door real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
And then the final stake in the coffin, right? And again, look at the time period of year where we are, where this call is being made, right? Mm-hmm. The problem becomes, as you've mentioned, you were already up against Call of Duty. Now you're up against Call of Duty on Game Pass.
Yep.
And as I talked about before the acquisition, that is going to start choking the life, in my opinion, out of innovation and competition, because Call of Duty was already sucking a lot of air out of the room, right? Now again, I think that there, I don't think that, as I've contended, I don't think that is going to lead to a lot of people like changing picket lines and going to stand in the Xbox line, but as a singular property in the first-person shooter multiplayer space, it's definitely going to create an environment where, if Call of Duty is already there and it's already proven, and now it's increased its availability, and it's still talking about going to other platforms, it's talking about going to the cloud, it's talking about going to the Nintendo Switch. Why is it just like you just said? Why is somebody going to choose to play this other game, right, versus playing the game where all the players already are? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Forte.
No, you pretty much said exactly what I was going to say. It's like it wasn't enough there to make it different from anything else that we play on a year-to-year basis. Like the fact that, like you said, the fact that Call of Duty, like you said, in Game Pass, it's like the lowest barrier of entry anybody's ever had to get with the opportunity to play the game. Couple that with one of the best Call of Duties that's come out in a long time. Me personally, I liked the game, but it didn't like blow me away or anything. So, when it came out, I tried it. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But it got real boring real quick. Like, it got to the point where like the map design was like not generic, but it was just kind of predictable. The game modes were just kind of like, okay, most of them were pretty stale. And then content wise, the drops just, I just don't think it really had a chance. I mean, it takes a lot for a live service game. And we seen, Sony literally just canceled one, closed the studio down. And
Right.
so you see, it's not an easy thing to do. Epic make it look easy because they're one of the first people to do it. Apex Legends, same thing. One of the very first successful ones to do it. Destiny came up on its 10-year plan, and it's towards the end. It takes a lot to pull people away from the things that they're already playing, and especially when you're talking about a game like this, it's not even really competing against the live service. It's competing against a game that everybody plays every year, when it comes to the majority of the people that play on console. And yeah, it's on PC too, but then when you're talking about the PC base, the majority of them play completely different types of games. So you really, really have to stand out for people to really, really want to give it a chance. And I think it did stand out at first, but it showed its true colors really, really fast, that it was just a bland game or a bland shooter with some pretty decent mechanics, but it wasn't going to be something that was going to pull you away on a consistent basis from things that you are already playing. Like, there was moments where I looked at the games like, I can't wait. Like, I would come home and I'd be like, I can't wait to play this game, or I can't wait to play that game. Or like when God of War came out, I'd be like, I can't wait to get home and finish playing and pick up on my checkpoint that I was at. This game really didn't do that for you. Like, unless you were like a content creator making content and stuff around it. I know SloMo was kind of forcing himself to play the game a little bit for a while, but even he fell off. And SloMo's he's the general of sticking with a game, and he dropped that junk real quick. But it is what it is. But it's just another casualty to another studio that's trying to do something that they don't fully understand how it works. And being a live service studio, couple that on top of being a live service studio that makes a shooter, those are two of the most, saturated markets you can be in. And that's why that game's not here anymore, I guess.
Yeah. It's I wanted it to work. I wanted to enjoy it. And I did like some of the factions and some of the like the skins and things like that. I thought that those were cool, but there were little things that like would kind of irk me. Like, for example, they would lock a new faction, or like in the beginning, like season 0 had a faction that was in the beta that was locked behind progression. You had to get like 100k experience points or something like that in order to unlock an entire faction, and then you would have like these other progression based objectives that you would need to do in order to unlock more of the different characters that were in particular factions. I didn't mind that as much, but the locking the entire faction behind 100k experience, like when you look at how many matches that was, I don't think that was quite the best idea. But I mean, look, as we always say, when it comes to when developers lose their jobs, we wish them the best. We hope they find. I actually have one more question before I do this wrap up on that topic. I'll start with you, Forte. What do you think it is going to take? And I think we've had this discussion before, and I've said my piece on this before. But what do you think it would take to have a successful long-term live service game?
Ooh, who are you talking to me or
You? I'm talking to you.
Oh, me.
Mhm.
What will it take? Wow. If I knew the real answer to that, a lot of games will already be made. For me, I guess it really just comes down to, it's always about gameplay. Gameplay is always going to be first. Because that's the thing that you interact with the most. Character and model design really truly matters in games like that, because when you're playing a live service game, it's most likely you're going to be interacting and seeing your character in different places, or not different places, but in just different environments and stuff. And it's really, really cool just to see the character you created become your own. That's why people spend as much money and they do in stuff like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and like Destiny. But the biggest thing for me is just seeing what the long-term plan of what the game is going to be. And not just, and I understand when a game first comes out, it already has probably built in 6 to 9 months worth of content already built into the game for the most part. They already have like a roadmap for like the first year. But I like to see that. The thing is, you like to see the roadmap really hit for the first year, or for at least the first 3 months, to really, really capture you. Like that's the sweet spot right there. People don't realize that you can have a roadmap, but if your game becomes stale within the first month to 2 months of playing it, they won't even make it to the third month of the game. You really, really need to like overestimate everything that's going to be in the game to like wow people during that first, honeymoon period. Because you got to remember, when you're talking about a game that you're going to be playing for quite some time, you're telling people that we're pulling you away from things that you already know and love. Because we're at that point now where it's like so many games that people just love. Why should I stick with your game longer than the 2 to 3 weeks or a month that I'm going to play it? Because that's when you see like all of these articles being written about such and such game down 90% of their player base since launch, and it's like only been 3 months since the game came out. And that's because it just didn't stick with them as to the point where it needed to, or something happened in the game that kind of just changed people's opinion of the game. Like when devs do this, you know how it is. People hate when they get their stuff nerfed and then they feel like the developers just taking the stuff out on them. Those are the things that kind of drive people away from a game like that. So you need to find a way to make people as happy and as engaged as you possibly can during that first 3 months, and then hit on your deliverables when it comes to like your next season. Like if you're doing seasonal models, make sure that those seasonal models are bangers. Make story elements added into them. Like I see even with Fortnite, the way that they do. Think about Fortnite is a multiplayer shooter that has semi-story built into it when it comes to like how they go about introducing new things into the game. Is it like the greatest story ever? No, but it's something there that kind of like ties everything together about the what and why of why it's happening. And then you couple that with the gameplay, people stick with it. And then you add modes like zero build mode, where people like, I can't build worth crap, but I got zero build mode. So I feel like more people are playing the game now. So being very fluent and very intentional with the things that you are trying to do with your game to keep the player base engaged is your number one priority. But you have to get past that first 2 to 3 months. And then when your first update comes to the game, that's a big update, you need to knock that out the park to show people that you're not a one-trick pony, that you're willing to go out there and do everything you need to do to let people know that you here the feedback that you're giving, because a lot of the stuff that happens in new updates and stuff is like feedback from things that happened in the game earlier that they saw. But for the most part, that's mostly it. I just want to see developers really, really take that serious when it comes to like, what does the in-game experience look like during the first couple of months? And if you want to talk the long term, like, you know, you got people engaged, and this is something that Destiny really struggled with. How do you get other people into the game? What is your onboarding looks like for your game? Once you get past 6 to 9 months, and we know how people always say, they say, oh man, I really would like to play that game with you, but I'm too far behind. Well, how are we going to get people into the game? What does your onboarding look like? Because guess what? You're going to always have older players fall off the game. And then you want to be able to bring new people, new blood into the game. But if you don't have an onboarding experience that's going to really, truly help people, that's just going to make it more of a barrier entry for those people too. So just to say it one more time. So just have a banger out the gate, have people make sure that first 3 months is great. Make sure that your first DLC is something that, shows, that they can have some type of competency when it comes to you making stuff that's going to make people stick around. And then the last thing is, what are your deliverables going to be like when it comes to old people falling off and bringing people in with a new player experience? And then there's a lot more to it, but those are like the three main things that really, really help with a live service game get off the ground and, stay successful.
Very, very good point. Logic. What are your thoughts on this, on that question?
I mean, probably the first thing to say is, understand that all the gaps have been filled, right? You're standing up here at the line of scrimmage, and like there's a linebacker or a D lineman in every hole, right? Those gaps are already filled. Like Forte said, people already have games to play. And the notion of getting them to shake free of something that they're invested in is an incredibly daunting challenge. I think one approach, and quite frankly, I feel like you can almost be as extreme as you want to be. I mean, what's proven over time is the Fortnite approach, right? Which is that, I mean, sadly, it's like, look, we're glad that you old legacy players are here. But like every 4 to 6 months, we're just basically going to decide, and forgive me for cursing on your podcast, that we don't give a shit about you guys. Right? Like we're going to do something to change like a part of the game that's going to keep people fresh and interested in coming in, and doesn't necessarily make them feel daunted about the notion of coming into a space where there's a bunch of people who already understand the game. Fortnite to me is one of maybe the most incredibly inviting onboarding experiences. Like I didn't get into Fortnite until like season 5, and like even when I got in and I was asking questions about like, well what's a juggy? Like people, I was being laughed at, right? But number one, having solos for Fortnite, like good move. I don't think it's a great thing today, but like. So having solos in Fortnite is what got me into the game, right? Because I could basically practice and get enough reps in of combat, that in like that quick cycle time to get you back into it.
That's wild, because I remember you really talking about how you dislike Fortnite. So that's crazy that they even got you. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it only lasted. It was perishable. It only lasted for a certain amount of time, but I mean, but they got me in. And one of the key things was the short cycle time, right? I go back to what I said about XDefiant. I mean, if we're assuming that this is a shooter, but I mean, it probably applies to other genres. Like the big thing is idle time has to be kept to an absolute minimum for me. That is how I measure a game. That's why I don't play Rainbow Six, because Rainbow Six is at its core when you're really working with a squad. And if you get taken out, right, you're sitting there waiting for everybody else to complete the match. And that just doesn't work for me. XDefiant, the amount of time that it took you to get back to a fight. Battlefield, the amount of time it takes you to get back to a fight. I don't, Fortnite, and again, I respect it for, what it's done. Fortnite is in Battle Royales, the reality is, and people hate it when I say this, the reality for Battle Royales is that they're an incredibly social game. Right? People don't get bothered by that extensive looting loop, because it gives you time to talk to your friends and socialize and hang out. And for a lot of people, that's great. I like to spend my time in a shooter shooting and engaged in combat. So, like for me, that idle time doesn't really work. So, let's take battle royale out of the equation because it works for some people. But like, just if you're doing a shooter, if you're doing an arena shooter, you got to figure out a way to keep idle time right to a minimum. When Apex had its arena mode, that to me was kind of just about the right fit, right? It gave you enough breathing time to kind of get your feet back underneath you as you were transiting back to the fight. It allowed you to see where the fight was unfolding because there weren't a lot of objects in between you and spawn points and getting to the fight. So I mean, so it was just kind of about the right kind of fit. So yeah, I mean, and then at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like you've got to have a hook that is unique. The hyperscape thing of like the portals, I think is a good thing. A gimmick is only going to take you but so far.
You mean Splitgate?
Yes, yeah, sorry. Hyperscape was with the Ubisoft one, right?
Right.
Yeah, did they have portals or they had something?
They had jump pads. Like
Okay.
It was like jump pads all over the map and you would just like bounce up, and other than that, the shooting was very mediocre, pedestrian, and the time to kill was terrible. So it was, yeah.
And then the last thing I would say is, look, the reality of the market today, you I mean, either you can get backed by a big third party publisher, get aligned with a big third party publisher, or or be in house, right? Is really just kind of the way you got to go. Like I just don't see the. I mean, the fact of the matter is, in hindsight, in the rearview mirror, the reality is any of those small, scrappy startups that made enough of a splash, they were lightning in a bottle, right? But I would contend we're never going to see another PUBG. And
I don't know. I'll explain why. So we can I guess we can finally transition to some of these other topics. I'll say my piece on this. All your points, both of your points are very good, and they're all true. You do those things that this will more than likely lend towards you having more than just a good successful launch, but having some long-term success. But I think the key thing, especially now in 2024, the key thing, and you guys have mentioned it, both of you have mentioned it, unique, being different. Like, we have a success this year. It's Helldivers 2. If someone said to you played Helldivers 2, they haven't. Hey, I heard about this Helldivers 2. What's that like? What's that? What kind of game is that? Like, a lot of people's responses would be, is Starship Troopers the game? Is there a game that people play I'm pretty sure they made a Starship Trooper game at one point and it probably sucked and no one plays it, so that's why no one talks about it. But like, there is no equivalent to that in gaming right now. So you're talking about a very unique experience that's a quality experience, because nothing we talked about is about the game being quality or not being quality. That's a given. That's a prerequisite to even being in the conversation, that you actually have to make a quality title. That's not the point. The point is you can make a quality title and nobody play it. And the reason why nobody's playing it is because what you just made, that's already out there. And that's, I think, the key thing, is that it being unique. If I make a game and everyone says my game reminds them of like two different games, I'm screwed. I am screwed. Doesn't matter how successful the launch was. The people who like my game and said, yeah, your game is like a mix of Overwatch and Rogue Company, I'm done. Because those people are gonna go back to Overwatch when they drop a new season. I'm done. It's just how it is. You have to come out with something super unique. There's no other Rocket League. Rocket League is going strong because ain't nobody else did a Rocket League. Fortnite is going strong because they're the best at what they do. Change it up every season. They had that one car meta thing that I hated and I ain't play, but so other people enjoyed it. And then the very next season, I'm running around like an Avenger with Iron Man's boots and his unibeam hands and everything. I'm doing all like I'm throwing Captain America's shield. They change it up so often that you can't just say, well, this isn't for me. Maybe it's not for you this season, but next season you'll be back, and they know you'll be back. And I feel, but to have a successful long-term game, you need to, and we're saying it like it's easy. It's not, because if it was easy, everyone would be able to do it. But regardless of whether it's easy or not, it needs to be done. You need to come up with an experience that no one else has had. And it needs to be something that's easy to get into, yet also be unique enough that when people say, oh, Forte's new game, you played that? What's that game like? They're not naming like 3 different games that's like. They're gushing about the experience and what it does and saying you need to play it. I can't tell you. You got to experience it. That's the kind of response you want. And if you don't get that response, you're cooked. Cool. All right, I'm gonna move on to this next topic here. PlayStation is working on a handheld, and this is a bit interesting because it's of course they've already had the PS Portal and whatnot, but according to Bloomberg, Sony is in the early stages developing a portable console that will play its PlayStation 5 games on the move. And this also says that it's likely years away from launch, and Sony could decide against bringing it to market, but it is something that is going on in the background. It says the idea of this PlayStation handheld builds on the PlayStation Portal, which initially had intended to function as the standalone device itself, like the Steam Deck. But eventually, things changed and they kind of they simplified the approach to that. Sony declined to comment on the story, which is just lends more. It means it makes it a little bit more valid that more than likely is true. But Forte, my question for you is: do you think the success of the PlayStation Portal has allowed Sony to decide to go forward with this handheld? What do you think?
No, I think they were going to do it at some point anyways. I think this was just a way of getting at least getting something out there that was going to be in the handheld market, just to see how gamers would adapt to it. Because I think the fact that they just opened up streaming to it for premium members and stuff, I think that was always something that was going to be in the books for it. It just really came down to them wanting to see how much interest it would be. Because guess what? Nintendo has proven that there is a space for a handheld. I mean, they completely, in so many ways, shuttered their home console only approach for just handhelds. And we know that they sell, we know that Nintendo did really, really good with handhelds. But the fact that everybody loved the fact that that was something that was portable, on the go, being able to play games natively on the system. That is something that I think they just wanted to test to see if the PlayStation brand, if that's something they wanted to do again, because they did it twice. The PSP did really good. The Vita, it did good, but they just didn't support it. And that's the biggest thing with PlayStation. Are they going to support the games that they make? I think that's kind of behind them now, due to the fact that most of the most handhelds now, for the most part, can just install games directly to the system. And games can be scaled across multiple platforms in a very, very digestible, easy way. And then if you think about it, they just kind of tested the waters with the fact that people got a chance to see how much they were willing to spend on a console with a $700 PS5 Pro. So we see systems like the ROG Ally and the X and the G and the G Logic and all in the Lenovo. We see all of these things that cost a really good price. Steam Decks cost $564 if you want the option. It comes with the OLED. It goes all the way up to $649 if you want the 1 terabyte. So we're in a situation where you can actually see people willing to spend the money to get a handheld that's able to be able to natively at least download and play some of the PS5 games at most likely PS4 quality, which is all you have to do on a 7 to 8 inch screen. You don't really need something that is eye dropping, when it comes to the graphical ability, because you're on a smaller screen. So I always think this was always the plan in the beginning. They just wanted to see if PlayStation gamers would adopt it and how long it would take to catch on. And I think that in the main way you can look at it is by the fact that they're opening up the fact that, like I said earlier, that you can stream the PS5 games directly to the unit now through their cloud service, which I think is the first salvo. And then when they decide to make a actual dedicated handheld, I don't think it will be a dedicated handheld that will just play, that will not natively, but have its own games. I think you're going to be looking at something like how the ROG Ally is, and it just has access to the PlayStation ecosystem, which kind of ties down with the fact that we know PlayStation is still in the works of trying to make their own launcher for the PC. And that's something that they can actually do where if by the time that comes out and it comes to fruition, they actually have their own dedicated ecosystem on the with a PC OS that is able to play all those games directly on a handheld. And I'm gonna tell you this, when that does happen, that's when you're gonna see more games coming day and date to that platform, just because of that situation where you'll be able to just play those games natively on that hardware too. But I think it's always was in the plan, and I think it's a great idea. And I definitely find myself looking forward to what PlayStation does more with their hardware, because they're willing to, Xbox is kind of out of it now. They're, everything's an Xbox, where PlayStation still values that hardware. And, being a techie, I like to see exactly where that's going to go. And having another handheld in the market not only will do PlayStation good, but I also think it will kind of push PlayStation to do Nintendo to do a little bit more with their hardware too, when it comes to like a power narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you mean, but also pricing wise, I mean, I feel like pricing wise, they couldn't price this the way you see.
I can see the
PC handhelds being priced.
No, I can see a $500. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you'll see a $700 ROG Ally price, but I can see
it needs to be whatever the Switch 2's price is.
Right,
because the Switch 2 is a closed system that is only going to play Nintendo games, whereas PC handhelds.
Sorry, my daughter is down here watching the Lions kick a game-winning field goal. Sorry.
Guys,
okay. It's okay.
We love Bates so much. We love Bates. We love Bates so much.
Oh, she said we love Bates so much, and he won like 3 games for us this season.
Cool. Yeah, I think you can't price it the way PC handhelds are priced, because PC handhelds have multiple games on multiple storefronts. And you also have the ability to sideload a different OS into it. You have a lot more freedom there. You can upgrade your storage. You can you can play various different games with various different manufacturers and publishers and platforms with it. Whereas from what Bloomberg is saying about this PlayStation handheld, it's just going to be playing PlayStation games, which, I guess the key difference between this and the PS Portal is the PS Portal is streaming cloud games and allowing you to stream from your PlayStation. But none of that stuff is native, and this will be doing it native. And I can't see them opening themselves up the way Xbox seems to be leaning towards the direction of allowing Epic Games Store and natively to be implemented into the actual Xbox UI storefront, where you just get an icon saying this is coming from the Epic Games Store, but it's all built in to be allow you to play those games from that storefront. I don't see PlayStation doing that, because clearly when Xbox does that, they're not going to be getting the revenue off of that because it's not natively really in their storefront. PlayStation is going to want that revenue, and they're not going to try to share that 30% with anyone else. They're probably just going to run with their own storefront. So I just find it a bit interesting from that standpoint. Logic, for you, by the time this releases, and they've said this may take a few years, and even Xbox has said their handheld is going to take a few years, and Valve has said the Steam Deck 2 is a lot of years out because they're waiting on technology to have like that quantum leap and advancement to make it really worthwhile to be a massive leap over what the first Steam Deck is. All that said, do you think the market would be too crowded for this PlayStation handheld to be received well?
I don't think it'd be too crowded. My personal belief is I think I look at the market as something different. I don't necessarily coincide. My perspective doesn't necessarily coincide with some of the things you guys have mentioned. The only gaming handheld that has proven successful, and I would say from a market impact perspective, I don't even know if you would call that a success, is the Steam Deck. Steam Deck, yeah. I don't necessarily think that the Nintendo Switch is representative of a market for handhelds. It is I think one of the problems I think I'm having is that the label of market for handhelds is being very highly genericized right now, and I don't mean from what you guys have said, but from like what everybody's saying, particularly the tech media. And I don't think it actually operates that way, because a Nintendo Switch customer is not the same addressable market as a Steam Deck customer.
True.
So I think those things are. I think there are some unique market sub-segmentations that make a huge difference in who these devices are sellable to. The PC handhelds have made not a significant inroad into any notion of that market. They've sold in the tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands for the ROG Ally, and the only reason the ROG Ally has sold in the hundreds of thousands is because they have like freaking 6 different damn SKUs already, right? So I don't know, and the other thing is, as we're seeing performance improvements, the already untenable prices are creeping up. The MSI AI Claw 8 Plus and 7 Plus are coming in at a higher price point. The One X player that just got released that has the Lunar Lake chip is like $1,000. So this is the classic of the endemic problem that Windows machines suffer in the past when they've tried to go down any type of path that is relatively kind of unique in terms of product offerings. We had this problem with tablet PC in the Windows XP era. We had this problem with ultra mobile PCs in the Windows Vista and post Vista era. The prices just never got down, and I mean, I want them to get down, but they're not getting there yet. The most exciting thing to me in this space, right, is if, like I said, the MSI AI 8 and 7 Plus Claw just came out. They have the Lunar Lake chip, which I was hoping, Intel was going to go in the direction of. I'm hoping that draws Qualcomm into the pool, and we start seeing Snapdragon X ARM on Windows, or Windows on ARM gaming PC handhelds. And I hope that pulls NVIDIA into the pool with its ARM for Windows solution, which is supposed to launch in the middle of next year. If that happens and we get sufficient competition in this space, because I think one of the things that's a problem is, I think what I realize now from all the years of like laptops and others of these small type devices, having the usual suspects in the space does not constitute competition. So when Microsoft goes to its common vendor partners, right? Samsung, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, Acer, like, and all those guys get in the pool, that doesn't constitute, right, vendors getting in the pool and creating competition. What constitutes competition is when Apple does something similar, right? Or when you have these differentiated products that actually make a difference, right? Because the problem with all of those vendors is there's not really that much product differentiation, right? There's a crack of sunlight in between the product offerings from any of those guys that makes very little difference, I think, to most consumers. So, by the time, as you mentioned, by the time this PlayStation thing comes along, we're really talking about the PlayStation 6. And to me,
I think it will likely be launched alongside that. Yeah.
Right. And so to me, it really hinges on a 2 or 3 like major key points. Number one, kind of like as Forte says, like there needs to be no differentiation in software. The problem with the Vita, and even as they were tailing into the end of the PlayStation Portable era, was that they were splitting investment across development teams who were developing for 2 different hardware targets. And that's why they didn't want to go down that path right here with the PlayStation Portal. I'm hoping that they continue to and we see what's going on with PlayStation VR, as they've even shut down one of their VR studios. So I think from an investment perspective, they've got to get to a point where everybody is developing on the same software base, or like a minimized common set of technology with some degree of commonality for it. I think this is why AMD was spooled up to go down the path of trying to figure out an APU solution that would support PlayStation technology, that would fit in a portable package with a low enough TDP but still render enough power. Is that a scaled down PlayStation 6 software base? Maybe. But they also have to do it in a way that doesn't give them the Xbox Series S problem. Maybe Pisser helps out there, right?
They definitely going to be relying on the Pisser.
Yeah,
I definitely think, and at that point, you're looking at like Pisser 3.0. They're far more experienced than working with machine learning and AI and upscaling, and maybe they've addressed a lot of the issues. Well, not maybe. I definitely think they'll be addressing a lot of the issues that we see currently right now with Pisser. So yeah. I could definitely see that being the case.
So, and then the last thing is, right, then you've got to ride this weird line between, okay, now if we're saying it's got to be the same software, right, it's got to be utilizing the same SDK, which means it's playing the exact same games as the PlayStation 6. It's not different games, right? It definitely probably gives them access to the back catalog, so that's helpful. But then if it's playing the same games as the PlayStation 6, how do you come in at a price point that's low enough to get people on board, but also doesn't cannibalize sales?
Yeah, which is the reason why I think that you gotta go lower than a PC handheld, because if people... Because with a Steam Deck, I can put on Chiaki, I think it's called, and I can stream my PlayStation. You're also putting your own games on PC, so then I can play your own first-party games with more features than I would if it's just strictly off the console. And in addition to just how all the other things I mentioned earlier about having more access to different games that are PC specific that you wouldn't find on the PlayStation, in the PSN, and that all that together tells me like there's more value here than in the PlayStation handheld, and therefore you can't be at the same price point. Like whatever the Steam Deck 2 is, you need to have SKUs or whatever the price is for this PC handheld below that. And that's why I was saying you need to be on par with what Nintendo is doing with the Switch, because although it's a hybrid and can be used as a console, a lot of people use it also as a handheld. And in that regard, if that is who you're really pointing towards, like addressing that market that enjoys a Switch 2, you're not going to have Nintendo first party games, of course. But if you are someone that's playing, and Hogwarts Legacy has been charting on ever since it launched on this Nintendo Switch, it has remained on the sales charts and primarily due to the strong second push it got off of being launched on that Nintendo platform. It runs like garbage, and we all know it, right? If you are trying to address that market that buys those games like that, you can potentially have someone say, "Hey, look, you can buy Hogwarts Legacy 2 on PlayStation 6 and still play it on your handheld. You can play it at home on your PlayStation 6. You could play it on your handheld in a higher visual fidelity than you're getting off that Switch 2." And I think that's a good pitch to people who are a part of that market and are looking for that kind of gaming experience. But I don't want to. I know it's getting late. It's 11:40. I don't want to harp on that too much. But I think that the topic is fascinating. Just kind of wish that was a little bit closer to launch, so we wouldn't be basically speculating so much about what it will be and what it won't be, and it's like probably not even going to get announced or even talk about again by Sony until like 2077. 2027. I say 2077, like that's 50 years from now. 2027. But since we're on the topic of PlayStation and games on PlayStation, let's discuss a particular game that is being rumored to be coming to PlayStation, and that is Forza Horizon 5. And this rumor, this latest rumor about this is out there by a known leaker. I believe this is a South American leaker, Ecstasis. I don't know how to say that. It's some weird name, but Ecstasis. I can say this now, since this is out there and people are talking about it. We here at DPS heard about this particular.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we've heard about probably last spring is when we were told this by credible people that Forza Horizon 5 was in development, a port going to PlayStation. Now, this being delayed, there's no reason given for the delay, but I wouldn't be surprised if this shows up on PlayStation 5 sometime next year. Forte, because you already know about this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Logic. What do you think about this rumor? Do you believe it? You not believe it? What do you think?
There's no red line. The whole slate.
No red line.
That is what Phil said. Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely a possibility. It wouldn't surprise me. Is it worth the investment resources? Are we saying Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon?
Forza Horizon 5.
So I mean, who
now to be certain, or to be specific, what we heard was just Forza. We heard a Forza game was going to PlayStation. I took it upon myself to say it gotta be Forza Horizon 5. So the person that told us that didn't tell us it was Forza Horizon 5. That said, like, it didn't make sense to put Forza Motorsport on PlayStation when PlayStation has Gran Turismo over there. Like, now you're competing head to head in that marketplace for a Gran Turismo racer sim kind of gamer. And instead, you have Forza Horizon that is actually a more popular racer under your belt. You could put that over there, and you're not going to get as much competition from PlayStation first party. And then the third party, those games are also on Xbox, and you body those games as far as engagement goes. So it just made more sense to put Horizon 5 over there, which this rumor is saying. So I guess I was right, but go ahead.
So the thing is if you're putting Horizon over there, who's doing that? I assume it's Playground Studios.
Yeah, Playground Games.
So is Forza Horizon 5 going to end up on PlayStation before Fable gets to Xbox?
I would say probably. But they have two different studios. So they built an entirely different studio to make Fable. So there are two different teams, two different studios. The Forza team is working on Forza. The Fable team has always been separate. I believe there are at least 100 developers. They're not like it's porting Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation isn't slowing down development of Fable. If that is what you were thinking.
I mean, there was an initial question. It's still, like I said, again, from my experience on Windows Phone, like to me, you make a choice today whether or not you're a fan of Xbox hardware or a fan of software. And if you're primarily concerned about the software, it doesn't matter really where you play. If you're going to invest in their hardware, I still, at the end of the day, if you're going to invest in their hardware and that's the only place you're going to play an Xbox game, I still, again, looking at it from the lens of my Windows Phone experience, from all of my Microsoft experience, like Zune, everything that I've used, in almost all of those cases, there has become a point where the software took precedence over the hardware, and it stopped making sense for me to invest in the hardware. So, yeah, but I mean, if PlayStation players can, can play an Xbox game, and Forza 5 Horizon is a good game, just as we've talked about before, like between the two of us, we have 120 hours in the game, so if players on PlayStation can enjoy that, then great.
I think it will do very well over there. Sea of Thieves has done very well on PlayStation's platform. I think this game is kind of ripe for a good experience that will definitely find a community over there. I
mean, I hope it's getting packaged over there, and I mean, this will be an incredible value buy. I would assume that it's going to show up with some of the DLC already included with it. That it'll be kind of like
at this point, you should probably just do that. Just do like a Forza. I don't know what you call it, but make it some kind of edition. It's not just Forza Horizon 5. It's like Forza Horizon 5, the I don't know, Speed Trap edition. I don't know, right? And it's got everything. It's got the I forgot, what did they do this time? Did they do Lego? Was it Lego?
They have Hot Wheels. They have Lego. They
Hot Wheels. Yeah.
The Baja Rally. Those are at least the 3 major DLCs.
Right, and if you do all that together, then you can justify a game that came out 2 years ago, I think, coming to this platform and charging full price for it. Because you got everything there.
Right.
It's not just the base game.
Yeah, and then you
could go full price on that.
I don't want to play that 2-year-old, 3-year-old game or whatever.
But those people weren't going to play it anyway. I think a lot of people choose. They kind of make they make a big deal out of something very minor, and then say, "Oh, well, did you see that the smoke is a bit pixelated?" Oh, I'm not playing that game. Like, who cares, bro? It's smoke. But like, people make a big deal about things that they act like is a deal breaker, but it's just, you just want an excuse to say you're not going to get it, which it's fine if you're not interested. But you don't have to make excuses. You can just say, I'm not interested in the game, which is, everyone has preferences. It's perfectly fine. Forte, what else? Now that this one pillar seems to be poised to go over to the other side, what else can we expect to?
What's their next game that's coming out? What's the next game coming out after this one?
After Indie?
Avowed, right? Avowed.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna come at some point. Let's see. The next Halo is gonna come at some point because they're switching over to Unreal 5. What else is coming? I mean, the Xbox OS is coming. They're gonna move all that over to, man. The Xbox is about to be on everything. Doesn't matter what it is. Their games are going to be everywhere. You can't fight it anymore. It is what it is. Basically, the exclusive thing that's going to be is Game Pass, because Game Pass is where you'll be able to play the games at a lower barrier of entry, and that is basically what the Xbox ecosystem is going forward now. So, other than that, just enjoy the games enjoy the system that you want to play on. I think Nintendo is going to get a crap ton of Xbox games, because I think the handheld is going to be I think they're going to use that handheld to like kind of gauge and theory craft how their games will do in a portable environment. I don't think everything will go to the Nintendo platform, just the stuff that makes sense that will definitely run and play in a handheld environment like that. But I even expect a lot of games to go over there. But when it comes to PC and PlayStation, just think, what is Indiana Jones? 3 months until it comes over? I think that's more of a I think that's more of a circumstance where it's a Disney IP, and you know, if they have the same contracts as Marvel has when it comes to some of that stuff, I think it might just be tied to the fact that they just have to put that over there sooner, just while it's still in the mind's sake of eye. But I think 3 to 6 months, you'll start seeing most games that just release on the day that comes out. They'll hit other platforms like PlayStation and stuff. Some games might be a little bit longer, like Fable. That might be a year, like their bigger tentpole games. But everything's going at this point, man. Like Phil's been telling this, like when they did their interview, when they did the emergency town hall meeting with him, Sarabon, and you know, what's his name that you like to call him, like the Booty, like with Booty. And they said, she asked specific questions about, is Starfield going to be a game that's going to hit other platforms? And when he said, we're only talking about the 4 games right now, couldn't even answer that question straight.
Yeah, and then in their interview, like released 5 minutes after their town hall, he basically punts on the idea that Starfield and Indiana Jones would ever go to PlayStation, and we saw why, because clearly Indiana Jones was in development
for PlayStation already
for PlayStation at that time, for it to be able to be ready, you know, 3 months after its release, you know, to now. So
it just like Logic said earlier, there's no red lines. You know, I think what Microsoft is telling you what Phil Spencer is telling you right now is that Microsoft won the war. The war is over. They have to do what Microsoft wants them to do. So when they say there's no red lines, that's because literally Microsoft said there's no red lines. You know, they gave them a chance. They facilitated them by purchasing all of these studios back in 2019, 2020. Sure, COVID kind of jacked up development and made everything, you know, elongated and stuff like that. But when the games did come out, it just wasn't no oversight. It was mismanagement, miscommunication. People didn't know what was going on. And I told people the day that Microsoft, not Xbox, the day that Microsoft saw what a successful IP looked like when they got Call of Duty and they saw the data from just 1 quarter of what Call of Duty did, and that wasn't even the best call. I think this Call of Duty's doing even better probably. But once they saw the data from that, it was a wrap. And as soon as that happened, that next physical quarter, when they did their earnings call, you saw Xbox and Microsoft, or Xbox, separated from the gaming, from the Azure cloud, from all of the services. They literally had its own part of the whole conversation where they talked about Xbox gaming was up 52%. You know, and we all know that was mostly just due to, you know, Call of Duty. And then where they talked about their mobile division, that was up drastically. Where do you think that all came from? But they separated it. They gave you real numbers then. And I think that was just the beginning of kind of the end of exclusivities at Xbox, because they look at it as like, why are we putting all this effort to keep games and stuff away from people when our whole entire philosophy since the original Xbox is to be the center of your living room? The center of your living room doesn't have to be an Xbox anymore. It could be a PC, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, your TV, a PlayStation, a Nintendo. Of course, they're not going to come out and just say a PlayStation like right there in a commercial. But that's pretty much what they're saying. If we could get our games on platforms where the living room is central to it, that's all they care about at this point. And I'm not going to be mad at them because they're going to their core competency, which is software. And I think they're going to do great with that, but it just devalues the platform.
It devalues the hardware.
It devalues the hardware,
and which is why they've redefined what the platform is.
What the platform
what
is
an
now.
Xbox is now. They don't acknowledge an Xbox as the actual console. Xbox is it's your mobile phone, it's your PC. It is a console, but it's also a handheld. It's your Steam Deck. It's your Nintendo Switch. It's your PlayStation. That's Xbox. And whatever delusion you want to be in, that is what Xbox is. That's not exactly how the rest of the actual game industry is going to acknowledge it as. You could call yourself whatever, but if your mama said you was a console, I'm gonna call you a console,
right? Exactly.
So to speak. I do think this will definitely hurt, and we can talk about this more with the next topic for certain. But for me, I think Starfield is a given. Starfield will go to PlayStation. I think we already know Indiana Jones is going. We already know Doom is going. They announced that last summer. I think True Bleed in the chat say all he needs is Killer Instinct on PlayStation. True Bleed, I think you're going to get what you want. I think you're going to get that Killer Instinct, whether it's a remake or a remaster of the one they did most recently, a little, not that recent, but the last one, or a sequel. I think you're going to get that. It just makes sense to put that on PlayStation since you're doing this already, because PlayStation is where a lot of the fighting game community play. If they're playing on consoles, that's what they're playing. They're playing on PlayStation. So if this is your initiative that you just don't care about the hardware, the Xbox hardware console, go ahead and put that on PlayStation then. You're going to get the maximum amount of engagement from people who already have a platform where they engage in playing those kind of games on. It just makes sense.
I mean, they are the most successful high-end console. And so at a certain point, you say not only is there no red line. I mean, I would start pushing to say I would just remove that from your vocabulary. Like why would you not put your games on the most successful console on the high end segment of the market? Like there's
if you definitely don't care about selling your own hardware, right. Absolutely,
and my last bit on that is I don't like the branding of the Sarah Bond. Every screen is an Xbox. I think that sounds gimmicky. I think it resonates disingenuously with engineers and developers. I think you could just have the same voice track as your boss, which is I'm going to put my software where the users are. I don't think she needed to make it unique, because at the end of the day, what I do think she's doing is she's doing exactly what a good executive would do, which would be harmonize your voice track of your strategy with your boss. And I'm not talking about Phil Spencer, right? In fact,
talking about Satya.
Yeah, I think you look at the dynamic now, and all the thing about we went to HR and look. we had this whole thing about TQL in industry and Deming and no. Look, people are trying to get to where they need to be to get the bag. If you're the heir apparent, are you going to continue the seat that she's in? It's absolutely logical that she would be making a choice. Is my voice track going to resonate and harmonize with what Phil Spencer is saying? Or if Phil is on his way out and I'm the heir apparent and I'm going to be coming into the seat at the point where Satya is still in charge, does my voice track need to start harmonizing with Satya's? And I would say right now, Sarah Bond's voice track harmonizes much more so with Satya's. And that's probably the exact choice I would be making. Because I think Phil has weathered a bunch of internal getting his ass whooped, right, for holding the line, because where Xbox is going now, I believe, is where Satya has been wanting it to go. Phil, I believe, has dug his heels in and insisted on still catering to a dwindling number of hardware loyalists. And I think Sarah has said, "Yeah, I'm not. That's not the program I'm going to be on. Like when his ride is up and he's out, and I'm not fighting Satya. I'm going to line up alongside Satya." Which is exactly what you would do if you were in her type of position and you were looking about the longevity of your own career.
I think this is a good transition point to our last topic, because it's a lot about exactly what you just said, and it's about a lot of what's going on there at Xbox internally. So there was a report that came out today, not too long before we went live, that Microsoft, this is coming from Tom Warren of The Verge, but Microsoft and Google are fighting over the future of Xbox. And essentially what the article is about is the Xbox app that is currently not available on the Android, the Google Play Store. Microsoft revealed last week that it's already built a new Xbox Store app. If you've been paying attention to many of the articles that have come out about Sarah Bond and what she's working on behind the scenes, you will already be aware that she's been mentioning this Xbox app for mobile a lot. It's her baby essentially, and she's been trying to get it launched, and she's been pushing hard internally to make sure that it was ready to be launched as quickly as possible and in a good place when it would get launched. And apparently it's unable to launch due to Google winning a temporary stay on the new rulings that will allow Microsoft to provide this app and be able to sell games to people outside of the Google Play Store. And why is that important? Well, Microsoft doesn't want to have to give 30% of the revenue of a sale of a game to Google, especially considering how they want to open this up to the entire, not just like say their own first party games, but the sale of third party games of literally everything that's in the Xbox Store. And so if Google is trying to get a cut, but that causes a problem. Google has countered saying, "Oh yeah, they could they could do whatever they want. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what they're saying about they can't launch. They could launch it right now. They just choose not to," which is a interesting take from Google. I thought that was kind of humorous, and this has led to a lot of other things going on with regulators and stuff like that. But I think something else that's also a bit interesting, outside just this app that, Sarah Bond wants, that, allow people to stream their games directly to the app and not having to use a browser, which is the current method that you can do on mobile right now, is something that Tom Warren put in that article that says Sarah Bond has been, leading this initiative and staked her professional reputation on the idea of Xbox being everywhere. And that kind of, we can tackle that in a second, because I feel like that needs to be addressed about like why a black woman needs to stake her a year in to this position as president of Xbox, stake her professional reputation on this initiative that really isn't just her initiative. But a question I do have is about the impact of this and whether it's really worth all the fuss that Sarah Bond and Xbox in general are dealing with. And Forte, you work at retail, so maybe this would be something that you could provide your insight on, that be a bit unique in the situation. Well, Xbox's app and allowing people to buy basically console games on mobile and play them on mobile, is that really the impact that they think it is? What do you think about that?
I don't think it's the impact that they think it is. I think it's the impact that they want to have. They want to convince people that that is the future, and the only way and they have the data, but we all know data can be skewed by just the perception of what the company is talking about. You know, they want people to play games in a particular way so they can, you know, find themselves getting out of the console market, because we know that the R&D alone on that is millions, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. And that's something that they don't want to they don't want to facilitate anymore. Just like they are pretty much shutting down their whole, what is the tablet called? What is that dang tablet called?
Surface.
Yeah, and they, even though they pretty much, you know, winding down production on the Surface and everything, they just want to be a software company at this point, man. So, you know, the best way to become a software company is to try to, you know, angle your gamers into a direction where that facilitates what you want it to be. You know, just like Shannon Loftus said back in 2015, where they said PC gamers and PC and Xbox doesn't cross paths. It's not as close as people think it is. You know, fast forward 9 years later, you know, PC is a huge part of Xbox. It almost is probably one of the better parts of Xbox, because they sell more games on the Steam platform when it comes to particular games than they sell on the Xbox platform. So I think they want to find a way to make a clean break, and they've basically been doing this since 2015, 16, and 17. Game Pass was 2017 implemented a way of playing games and basically training your player base that they don't have to buy games anymore, you know. And in running in a loss leader situation, it made it easier for them to like pivot away from the things that they weren't as good at or struggled in, which was the business of making video games. And, you know, when you kind of go back and you like think about it, you know, it's not too many franchises Xbox themselves created. You know, they created Forza and they created Fable. Halo was purchased. Gears was purchased. So two other, so half of their, you know, their AAA development when it came to their bangers was something that they acquired from somebody else. So they still haven't proved that they are a studio that can like compete in that market. But guess what they can do? They can subsidize something to hell and back. And even if the offerings aren't as great as people want them to be, or they're just good experience, but the value proposition is freaking amazing. And it just comes down to them being consistent in releasing games and products. And guess what? It's easier for them to do that when they don't have to worry about making sure that they have hardware out there for everybody to buy. That doesn't mean that they're going to take the hardware away. I think there will always be hardware, but that hardware is going to be very specific to the people that want it. It's not going to be hardware that everybody could just go out there and just purchase, because what they want everybody to do, which is the mass majority, they want them to be in some type of service where they can stream it to them, low barrier entry, hook up to your TV, a tablet. PC will probably become the dominant place for gamers that, you know, like to play Xbox games. That will probably be the dominant place that people will go. And then they'll have that high-end option or handheld for people that want to play in an Xbox ecosystem. So it makes sense to me. It just, I mean, you know, when you just think about just the way that Xbox and Microsoft have been talking over the course of the last year and a half, anybody that doesn't think this is the direction is kind of just blind to the fact that you love the platform so much, you just don't want it to happen, but it's inevitable. It's all heading in that direction.
Yeah, Logic, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't know that it's worth all the trouble, because again, I have yet to really be presented the viable business case where somebody wants to be on an Android phone and purchase a game for the express purpose of then accessing the game via the cloud on their handset. I actually think it's a bigger get that, hey, I'm at work, I'm on my mobile phone, I want to go ahead and buy the game on my Android handset so that I can push it to my big boy console, and so that when I get home, it's available there for me to play. I think you used to be able to do that, but that it's a feature that they've dropped out of since they got tired of giving up that 30% cut to Google. Although I don't. Can you still? I think maybe you can still do that, because at the end of the day, going that way, you're not accessing the content on the phone, and that they don't have a problem with. It's been a while since I've had the Xbox app.
I don't know if you can do that or not. I feel like
you can push,
it was weird.
You can push from your phone to
but can you buy it on your phone?
I can tell you right. Oh well, I don't have an Android phone, so I couldn't tell you that.
I wonder about that, because like sometimes I'll have the Xbox app up, and it's been a while since I wanted to buy a game on Xbox, but I think the last one I bought was probably Unicorn Overlord. And I remember trying to buy it on my mobile phone and seeing with the green button didn't say buy or purchase or whatever. It says something like install.
Yeah.
And I was like,
push
is it in Game Pass? And I was like, was this in Game Pass? And so I hit install and it didn't install. And so I was like, I'm just confused. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, it definitely isn't in Game Pass. So why would it say that? And then I would look at other games and then notice the same thing. So I just wonder if that was like a bug of the store or something, or if like
no, there is no
it defaulted into that.
Yeah, there are no purchase options on Android, Apple.
And
no
Chat's saying that too. Erodimus is saying, if a game's a hit and you can look, yes, if there's a convenience to it, sure, that's a added convenience. But my point is that that's not a market mover. Like, because if I can buy the game just because it's a hit. But I'm not. If I'm near my console, I want to play it on my console.
Right.
If I'm not near my console, there's a reason I'm not near my console. Am I not near my console because I'm at work? Well, then I can't access the game there and play it immediately. I don't know what kind of job you have, but I can't do that, or wouldn't do that. Am I on travel? Okay, maybe. Unless I'm a heavy business traveler, okay, maybe that use case makes sense. If I'm just away for the weekend, maybe, but I don't know why I wouldn't just wait to get home to play my console. So yes, it's a convenience factor, but it's not a market mover. It's not a big market mover in the way that all the noise is being made about it.
So go ahead.
Where I think there is a strategic push for this is, at the end of the day, I think that convenience factor makes it enough to invest in the fight, but not because of Android. It's worthwhile because you want to do it to Apple, and there ain't no way in hell you're going to mount up a fight against Apple until you surmount the Android fight.
Mm-hmm.
The Android fight is going to be the easier fight.
Yeah.
And then once you have that foothold, then you can go after getting your App Store on Apple. I mean, and I can't remember because the markets are different, right? And that's the key thing we need to, right? The rulings that are in place in Europe and in the US are different, and the cases that are filed are different. So at least in Europe, I think they can go ahead and already do this. It's just that it's a ridiculously egregious draconian regime about how much they still have to pay Apple, even if they are selling it through their own store.
Yeah.
But that's the get. The get is to become a mobile force that's ubiquitous across all handsets, and that's the only reason why you make a big noise. I mean, because again, let's remember, and don't take offense, right? Well, or take offense if you choose to. I just know that I don't care about your feelings being hurt. Android consumers are not the most lucrative consumers by ARPU. Right.
Oh my god, that is so mean. I don't care. I'm an Apple user, but that is very mean. I mean, I do have an Android
kind of
through
truth,
work.
though. Everybody on
I have
Android,
Android
try
through
to
work.
everybody try to find shortcuts on Android. People on Apple just pay for it.
Right, and that's why developers prioritize Apple. That's why so many apps roll out first on iOS, and then they come to Android. So
the people be looking for those APK apps, or what is it, AKP?
Look, the androids, out there that are upset about. Look, it wasn't SloMo said it.
It's the
it was
truth,
Logic.
though. It's the
It
truth.
was backed up by Forte. I'm not in that. Although
he
I'm gonna
agrees.
just sit here with my Apple phone.
Me too. Me and my iPhone 15 Pro Max that I pay for everything on, even super chats to the show. But I do want to say this, because I do want to answer that question direct, because I realized I didn't answer it directly. I do think it's worth the fight. It may not seem like it's worth it, but like Logic just said, it's worth the fight just due to the fact that they want to get a foothold in that area. Just like it was worth the fight to like transfer games over to PC and do something like that. Just like it was worth the fight to condition your player base that services over buying games was more of the direction to go in when it came to the Xbox ecosystem. Just like it's worth the fight for Xbox to like lose the fight to Microsoft in the fact that all of their games are now going to be third party. So they look at it like Microsoft looks at it now, like when you look at just the ecosystem in general, yeah, we're going to break a lot of eggs on our way to making this omelet, but we know we'll be better off making this omelet this way by putting this stuff in other places. And then we also know by fighting, like he just said, fighting to have, ubiquitous around the different mobile platforms. And Apple's the one that's the last one you want to come up against, because you already want to have stakes inside of the Android ecosystem. Whereas if something does come down when it comes to like trying to break the barrier that Apple has in place, you can always talk back to the fact that you have that ecosystem in place on Android. Why can't we have it on Apple too?
Yeah,
so
that's a legal precedent that you can point back to and say,
exactly
based on this ruling. I mean, imagine what the world would be like, and how much easier this would be if you say had your own phone.
Well, and I get.
Wait a minute.
And guess what?
Didn't they used to have their own phone at some point? I vaguely recall.
And they wish they did
something that worked very well that they seem to just gave up on. It's interesting how you would just give up on hardware and then wonder, oh man, now you got to get courts to help you, do what you could have easily done on your own hardware.
Hey man,
on someone else's hardware.
Those Nokia phones were actually really good back then.
Yeah, they were. So was the HTC One, I think it was called.
The HTC
One. Yeah, that had the Windows OS on it. It was great. Windows Mobile was pretty good. And just imagine how you could have had that, and you could have, been pushing people natively to, play games directly, integrated right into the OS. But more than likely they would have still complained because they didn't want to support the platform in the first place. Anyway,
they just wanted the infrastructure.
So one thing that I want to address real quick. So Erodimus says in the chat, you're talking from the U.S. perspective of playing games, and thank you for walking directly into my spider web. Ooh. Yes, Erodimus, I am. And do you know why? Because that is the content that Xbox makes. They make Western games. They make games that cater. I've talked about this 1,000 times before. One of the key things is, if you're talking about the U.S. does not have the largest percentage. We drive a lot of the revenue, but by numbers, the biggest number of gamers is in the Asian market. Guess what type of content Xbox doesn't make? I have insisted time and time and time again since we started talking about this at the beginning of the year in this pivot in the strategy, that if Xbox wants to make every screen an Xbox, they have got to gain a foothold in Asia. And the only way you gain a foothold in Asia and other regions like Africa and other places, you have to make the content that is culturally relevant to those people. Those people don't understand. I'm using a PlayStation right example, but those people don't glom onto IPs where the central character's hobby is playing guitar, because that is not an Asian cultural perspective, right? So just like Sean Layden has said, and I said it before Sean actually said it, right? The way to get foothold in those countries is not to keep making Call of Duty and Fortnite and other games that they have already said that they're not interested in playing. So yes, absolutely, Xbox could make a push to make every screen an Xbox and play well in other countries. They have got to make culturally relevant content, and I haven't seen them make a big push in that direction. Yes, they have programs that are analogous to PlayStation's China Hero program and the Africa Hero program and the other things that they are doing. You hear about it much less frequently. You hear about it at much less volume. But more importantly, I don't see the investment dollars going in that direction that would drive that type of strategy. So it's great that you make, theoretically, if you can make every screen an Xbox, although, again, I doubt that just from a DNA perspective, a societal perspective, I don't believe the notion that if you put a video game in front of somebody, suddenly like their freaking X gene is going to activate and they're going to become mutants and all of a sudden they're going to become gamers. I think
that would be awesome.
I think there's a maximum theoretical capacity of the percentage of the human race that is going to play video games in the core way that we play video games. Now, if you want to talk about non-core gamers, absolutely you can make that push. But again, you have to make the type of content that resonates with that type of gamer. And that content, the people who are big gamers on mobile, they are not playing console type content. They are not playing the type of content that is most accentuated by putting a controller in your hand. They're playing different types of content. And that's just for the platform. But then you add into that the content needs to be culturally relevant.
I do agree with that. And before we finish up, I did want to kind of get into this whole Sarah Bond aspect of things, and something that I brought up before. And so a lot of you that have had been in here and listened to our conversations about this, and my concerns with Sarah Bond when she got promoted to president of Xbox, not concerns with Sarah herself, but concerns with the nature of corporate business and corporate world and how things are. And I said it then that I saw Sarah Bond in very much a glass cliff kind of situation. And if you're not aware of what a glass cliff is, I will definitely explain it. So in short, a glass cliff is the practice of promoting women to high risk leadership positions in times of like crisis or recession or massive major challenges that a company is dealing with. And the reason why it's called the glass cliff is because, of course, it's not very stable and is easily you can fail and fall. And it's a win-win for the company because then they look like they are big on diversity and they really wanted to, like, hey, we really care about this stuff. Let's push her ahead. We'll support her. But in the role that they're in and the things that they're dealing with, it's a high chance that it's going to fail. And if it fails, well, hey, look, it's no skin off my back. I'm not losing my, retirement off of this. Someone else can take the fall. And if you, and maybe it's just me, but this year, I've seen Phil Spencer speak on a lot of things that Sarah Bond should have spoke on. Phil multiple times has mentioned handheld, and I'm like, who's the president of Xbox? You are the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, which is fine that you talk about these things, but could you not like drop basically announcements that leakers do about hardware that you haven't formally announced yet? Maybe Sarah will want to do that. It just, maybe. Thank you. Also, you got like on the flip side of it, they shut down three studios. They shut down 3 studios. One of which just dropped a high quality game, and that clearly wasn't a Sarah Bond decision, considering she doesn't even run the first party studios. Matt Booty does. But then the next thing we see is her out there having to answer questions about a decision that she may or may not have had much influence in. She clearly wasn't the sole decision maker on it, and her answer wasn't great. So you didn't even give her good prep and on PR to decide, hey, look, we know this just happened. This is what you say in regards to this question if it comes up, which is definitely going to come up because we literally just did this like a week ago. Like, how is it that Sarah's always the one answering or dealing with the negative aspects of the business, but Matt Booty and Phil Spencer out here just speaking all the great things, all the positives. It seems to me to be somewhat interesting in how that keeps playing out. Now, Logic, what are your thoughts about this? Maybe you disagree, maybe you don't. I don't know. What are your thoughts on just the insinuation that Sarah Bond's reputation is at stake with this initiative, this Xbox Everywhere initiative?
I mean, Phil's been given a pass for 10 years. There's constant excuses made for what has gone on with that division under his leadership. There are constant excuses. Like, great Scott, man. If I had half the promotions that Matt Booty has gotten while constantly failing, I would be a C-level officer by now. Sarah Bond, I don't believe is going to get that many chances.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Yep. Forte, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, he pretty much said it. I think that wow, yeah. The direction that everything's been going in, it just seems like everything's going to get kind of devoured from the inside out, and it's going to be something completely different from what we know it to be now. It's already different now, but I think the days of people like Nachi just said failing forward, I think those days are gone, and people like Sarah Bond, they're not going to get the luxury of people like Chris Lee or Shannon Loftus that got moved into different parts of the company and then find themselves moving on when the time permitted. It's going to be more of an accelerated clock for everything going forward because Microsoft's moving in a different direction with everything, so they are, we know that they're 100% bought in to the ecosystem because they spent the money to do it, but that don't mean that they're bought into the people that are there doing the job. So yeah.
Anonymous in the chat asks if Sarah Bond is a glass cliff hire, then would that make her a DEI hire? I would say no.
No, I don't think so.
She's been with Microsoft for 8 years now, something like that. She just got promoted into, so she was hired by Microsoft a long time ago, and she's been working wonders for Game Pass. Now, she just got promoted into president of Xbox. That is where, she got promoted to president of Xbox at a time where the hardware is bottoming out, where your first party games are coming out late and then still being unfinished after they have been delayed multiple times. And globally, your brand isn't seen in the same positive light that Nintendo and PlayStation are.
Mm-hmm.
She's not coming in at like the kind of situation that Jim Ryan walked into, where Jim Ryan walked into a fantastic situation where they were on high. They had a great last generation. First party was booming. They were getting Game of the Year awards year after year.
Mm-hmm.
He came into a great situation. She's not, and a lot of times what the glass cliff thing talks about is that how people black women in particular get promoted into roles that are very high risk, very much like, I don't know if I want that. you know, I don't know if I want to take that, considering, you know, how this is going to play out and what is expected of you, and what the expectations are, and the likelihood of you actually delivering on that. If you do great, it's a win-win for the company, because if you succeed, hey, it's great. It succeeded. It worked. And we are all better for it. And we put her in that role. So thank us for being so progressive, because we put that black woman in that role and she killed it. If it fails, well, you know, we gave her a shot. We tried, you know, and she just, and hey, it is what it is. So Sarah's moving on. And now, you know, we're going to, now do we know that doesn't work? Even though that was, you know, what Satya wanted from the very start. Now that we know that doesn't work, Sarah's gone, and we can move on and do something else. And I get to keep my job. You know, it's a win-win for people who aren't black women in those roles. And we've seen this as people of color, that it's unfair that, like, the performance of Sarah Bond will impact Joanna Faries over at Blizzard. And why would you say that? Because what often happens to black people, or any minority really, if you think about it, is that you are somehow, instead of you being you and your job performance being your job performance, and you living and dying off the merits of what you achieved or did not achieve, all of that becomes the burden of your entire race. And people will basically say, well, you know, hey, look, this is what you get for putting these kind of people in this kind of role. People have been calling her a DEI hire ever since she got promoted, not realizing she's been there the entire time, not realizing she's a Harvard graduate, not realizing that she was a successful executive at T-Mobile. And she's accomplished way more than some of her colleagues that are in the same level of position that she is in. But she gets called a DEI hire. Phil Spencer don't get called that. Matt Booty has been failing in his position his entire time, being over first party, failing upward. Now, instead of running Xbox Game Studios, he's running ABK and Bethesda. Did anyone say, hey, DI? I mean, why is Matt Booty running everything, and he just, you know, maybe this is some kind of a quota they need to fill? No, they don't say those things. They say that about black women. So forgive me if I see how this year has played out, and it makes me wonder, hey, we can say the same thing about Joanna Faries, was running Call of Duty successfully. Every Call of Duty release comes out, breaks more records, makes more money than the previous one. Hey, great job, Joanna. Now go over there to that complete ish hole of a studio that used to be great, but we ran it into the ground. Can you go over there and change that around? Thank you. All right, go ahead. Bye. Go ahead and run Blizzard now, where Overwatch 2 was you know, people are unhappy, where we're canceling survival games, where, you know, we keep dropping projects that we work on and can't release anything. Go over there and fix that. Thank you. Appreciate you. It's always these kind of situations. It's never the Jim Ryan situation. And I said this on Twitter, and I knew it was going to happen when I said it, because there are people who somehow never seem to have a problem with these things, and somehow it's always, you guys are seeing race when this race is not involved, but as soon as they get called crusty, they get mad. It's funny. They never seem to see what we see, but they never try to. They never attempt to, because of course it doesn't affect them. So why would they? Right. Why would they care? So I'm off my soapbox. Anything you guys want to say about that before we finish up here?
I said my piece already.
Yep.
Cool. All right. let's get up out of here because it's 12:30 and I need to clean up the kitchen before I go to sleep.
You gotta clean up the kitchen. You ain't do that before you did the podcast?
No,
I
did
you.
not.
I probably wouldn't have done it either.
Yeah, so I need I told the wife I would do that before I climb in the bed. I ain't trying to climb in the bed in here. You take care of the kitchen. This is because I know I didn't. So I'm gonna take care of that. We are going to get up out of here. Game Logic, appreciate you joining us once again. Let everyone know where they can find you, sir.
You guys can catch up with me on Blue Sky at Lee Hampton, or you can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, 8 p.m. Sunday nights Eastern time. Although over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be some hitches in the schedule, so we've got one more regular episode, which will be this Sunday, and then the following week. So, well, what I should say is one more regular episode. Then, of course, the TGAs air. The Game Awards air on the 12th. We follow that with our end of the year gaming superlative awards, which is 2 nights, Sunday and Monday, the 15th and 16th, theoretically at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. And then we'll be on hiatus until we pick back up after probably the week of CES in 2025.
Cool. And thank you again for providing your perspective. You're always welcome, always appreciated. Forte,
Yes,
where
sir.
can people find you, sir?
Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, and PlayStation. Blue Skies is the safe haven for all the people that don't want to hear other people crying about things that's going on inside their own lives, and it's just a fun, casual joint. But follow me there. Outside of that, guys, enjoy the games you're playing. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your family for the rest of this month, because enjoy the snow that's about to hit you unless you're in a warm climate weather. And we will see you guys next week for 207.
Yes, 207. Yeah, for myself, I am I know I said this before.
He's gonna finish
finishing Metaphor.
And he's gonna finish Alien Isolation. Let him know what day you want him to stream.
I don't know if they want me to do that. I thought
was that?
That was me saying I don't know about that.
That was like, you sound like it was like
I thought I was supposed to play Life is Strange.
Oh, Double Exposure. We need to play that too, but you can't forget about Alien Isolation. You did buy that game.
I mean, I did. Sure. We'll see what happens. So I may play something this weekend, although I do want to try and finish Metaphor this weekend. But don't be surprised if you see us go live and I'm playing something new. So we'll see what happens. But hope you guys. I know this podcast has gone late. It's well over 3 hours.
We appreciate y'all.
We do. We really do. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your morning, I guess.
Hope you enjoy your night shift at work.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Y'all take care, man. Peace.
Peace.